In his 25th year, Don Shula has the Dolphins in playoff contention again. Miami's chances rest on the arm of Dan Marino, the league's #3 rated quarterback. #1 earlier in the year, Marino was shut out by Buffalo, ending his streak of games with at least one touchdown pass at 30 straight. That demoralizing 27-0 loss dropped the Dolphins under 500, and most people wrote them off for the year. But this season, the playoff picture is crowded. Consecutive wins over the Jets and the Eagles as Marino caught fire again, has Miami right back in the division title chase, and they have a history of finishing strong. Any talk of comebacks has to include Jay Schrader with a history of great fourth quarters. But earlier this season, Schrader returned from an injury and had trouble connecting, even with wide-open receivers. And he was benched in favor of veteran Doug Williams. He was outstanding as a starter and reliever. But when Joe Gibbs again went with Schrader, it hurt Williams' pride.
You know, football is a short stop, and, you know, a lot of things you go through. I don't know, just got to deal with it.
But Williams is a pro, and he'll be ready if he's needed tonight in relief of Schrader. Florida, where the Miami Dolphins at 7-6 will face the 10-3 Washington Redskins. For the Dolphins, the chances of winning the AFC East come down to this. They have to win it tonight, they have to win it next week against New England, and they have to hope that the Colts will lose next week against Tampa Bay. In the NFC, the top 4 teams are in. The last 3 are fighting for that remaining wild card spot. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Patrick, and it's great to have you with us for the Dolphins and the Redskins on ESPN. As always, it's a pleasure to be working with Roy Firestone. And Roy, the Redskins are 10-3. They have the second best record in football, but that's not enough for the critics.
Mike, I think the 10-3 record for the Redskins is about as suspicious as an Ivan Boesky stock tip. I mean, the Redskins have only beaten one team with a winning record all year. They were 3-0 in the replacement games, which give them a big cushion. But then they lost to teams like the Eagles, Atlanta, the Rams. They trailed to Detroit. They struggled with the Jets and Cowboys. This is one Skins game that doesn't have an ace in the hole, I'm afraid. George Rogers was vilified a little bit this week for his inability to run inside. Ex-Skin John Riggins implied that Sunday in the Park with George is no longer the hit show in Washington. In fact, 2 weeks ago, the Redskins' top rusher was a guy named Vitale. Not Dick Vitale, although the way he ran it might as well have been Dick Vitale. Then Jay Schrader. Well, he has endured the criticisms and the inconsistency. The fans in Washington all over him. They're about as hospitable to him as Bobby Knight was to the Russian basketball team. On defense, Man and Manley. Will they manhandle the new, not ready for primetime players in the Dolphins' offensive line? We'll find out for Dolphin fans if that offensive line is offensive tonight.
Well, they do have terrible problems, especially with all the injuries on that offensive line. And our guest analyst tonight knows all about offensive lines because he ran behind a great one here in Miami. Don Shula called on him time and time again to get the tough yards. Their blocking and his running put Larry Zonka in the Hall of Fame. And it's great to have you back with us as our guest analyst on ESPN.
Well, thank you, Mike. And I'm kind of wondering about John Sandusky tonight, the offensive line coach for the Miami Dolphins. He's provided us with a lot of magic over the last few years, but the question is, can he do it tonight? Because in the last 2 weeks, he's lost 2 of his offensive starters. 2 weeks ago against the Jets, Dwight Stevenson, number 57, the offensive center and team captain, went down with a leg injury and is out for the year. And last week against Philly, Ronnie Lee went down as starting offensive right tackle. So the big question tonight will be whether number 74, Mark Dennis, filling in for the injured Ron Lee, will be able to contain one Charles Mann, because Mann has simply been burning up the track defensively for the past few weeks. All in all, folks, things could get a little bleak for the Dolphins' offensive line tonight.
Now, as far as the Dolphins' defense is concerned, the last couple of weeks they have played better, but you would think they would have to move up even higher against the Redskins.
Well, they're going to need everything tonight. But the last couple of weeks have really been sparked by 2 rookies coming into play. Number 58, Rick Graff, and number 97, John Boza. These 2 rookies have come in with renewed enthusiasm. And if they can do that again tonight, I think we'll have a very interesting game.
Don Shula on the sideline with a rare smile that you will see before a ball game. He gets rather wrapped up tightly in this contest. And why not? In his 25th year, second all-time in wins, But Joe Gibbs, in his 7th year with the Redskins, is #1 in winning percentage, counting the playoffs among all active coaches. And that is a great tribute to not only Joe Gibbs, but the staff of assistants that he was able to hire when he came to Washington. From Miami, it is delightful. 74 degrees, a slight breeze. It is humid, but only a 10% chance of rain tonight. And Larry, at 74 degrees and 79% humidity, will conditioning be a factor in the 4th quarter?
Well, I think any time any team comes down to Miami this late in the season, conditioning is a factor because it's always much warmer down here than it is up north. Where we'll be able to tell for sure is in the 4th quarter in the long run.
Fred Wyatt, the referee, supervising the coin toss. Wyatt, a former quarterback at West Virginia. Miami wins the toss, and the Dolphins will receive to start the ball game. Roy, this game, with all the other games being finished today, has taken on added significance for Miami. They now know they have to win this, no question about it.
They really, though, have felt in control of their own destiny. I mean, leave it at this. We have to win, period. We can't worry about the other guys. In fact, the players all week are telling we don't even think playoffs at this point, really. We're thinking win one and then win the other one and let the chips fall where they may.
The Redskins, on the other hand, where does their incentive come from?
I think basically they want to maintain their consistency, if there has been any. They want to put two halves together. They haven't done it this year. Maybe the Buffalo game, their best performance all year long. Aside from that, they've had a half here, a half there. They've got to play a consistent football game.
Of course, coaches, Larry, basically greedy. They want 2 wonderful halves of football every time out. 10-3 is nothing to laugh at.
Absolutely not. Matter of fact, this is one of the most poorly talked about 10-3 teams I've ever run across. It seems
really
like it's almost 3-10 when I read the press about them.
That's right. Lorenzo Hampton and Scott Schwades are deep to receive, standing on the goal line. Ali Haji Sheikh will kick off for the Washington Redskins, set to go from beautiful Joe Robbie Stadium in South Florida. Sheikh has done a fine job for the Skins, replacing Jess Atkinson, who was hurt early in the year. And Schwades tells Hampton to stay in the end zone, and Miami will start from its own 20-yard line. Dan Marino, the best pure passer in football. #1 all-time in the NFL's rating system. He leads the league in touchdown passes this year with 22. Mark Clayton is the big play threat right now in the league's 3rd best producing offense. He had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. The line is so banged up they had only 5 people left who could play last week. Pro Bowler Roy Foster is one of the healthy ones. Woody Bennett starting at fullback, and Troy Stratford remaining back in three. Marino to Stratford. 40, 45, 47-yard line. 28-yard gain, and how much has Stratford added to this offense?
Particularly coming out of the backfield, gives a tremendous dimension that may not have even been there a year ago. The back catching out of the backfield.
Well, with the defensive corners that Washington has, you're going to see this happen. They're going to be going to the offensive backs. Looks like they're going very successful. Stratford's a load when he gets downfield like that. I wish he'd get his shoulder down a little more before contact, though.
Rookie out of Boston College, 4th-round draft choice. Turns out to be a steal for Don Shula. Too high for Stratford, again coming out of the backfield. The Skins defense has been tough against the run this year. Charles Mann having a Pro Bowl season. He leads the linemen in tackles and sacks. The linebacking is solid, and after an injury-filled career, Monty Coleman is getting a chance to show what he can do. He is #2 in tackles on this team. The secondary, extremely young but talented 3rd-year corner Barry Wilburn now leads the league with 7 pass interceptions. 2nd and 10 for Marino. Duper's wide receiver. Stratford got to midfield, brought down by Rich Malott and Monty Coleman.
Well, if you pay attention to that, what was designed was it looked like a dive play over the right side, but the blocking wasn't there, and you saw how Stratford immediately went back to his seasoned All-Pro when he saw trouble. He bent it back to the left, looking for Foster, knowing that there would be something there that he could at least get back to the line of scrimmage.
Sure, he knows Foster. He doesn't know those other guys in there now.
You go to the old guys when it gets stormy.
Redskins go with 5 defensive backs against 4 wide receivers on 3rd and 7. Jim Jensen, number 11 in the ballgame. They like to throw to him coming into the backfield. He's in a block this time. And Marino through the hands of Mark Duper. Darrell Green on the coverage, but a catchable ball.
You don't see that happen very often when Duper has it in his hands like that and lets it drop. I guess it didn't really drop. It just sort of bounced off his hands. It looked like he had palms up, and it just bounced off his hands like a flat rock on a frozen pond.
Reggie Roby will come in to punt on 4th and 7. Deep to receive Eric Yarber, averaging 7.7 yards a return. And the Redskins special teams have been a problem in the middle of the season. They think they're getting better now as they wind down toward the playoffs. Roby is having a great second half of the year. This one goes straight up, very short. And Yarber was run over by one of his own men.
He wasn't run over. He was flattened by one of his own men.
A 44-yard punt, 20 yards of it rolled. 13:02 to go first quarter. We're scoreless. Of the National Football League is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, engineered like no other car in the world. And by the Uniroyal Goodrich Tire Company, makers of premium radial tires for cars and trucks. And by AT&T, the right choice. This is Yarber signaling for the fair catch, and he is buried by his teammate Brian Davis. So the Redskins will have to start from their own 7. Rodgers. And Rodgers to the 14.
That's exactly what the offensive coordinator talked to us about. They're going to try to run in the middle. They're going to test O'Shea in the middle. They feel that's the weak spot, if there is a weak spot in that defensive front. They like the way the Dolphins linebackers line up 4 yards deep, and that's a big controversy between Studley, the linebacker coach, and Olivadotti, the defensive coordinator.
One back offense for the Redskins. Didier in motion. Now Warren sets back as a wingback. Rodgers straight up the middle. He's got the first down at the 18-yard line, so the Redskins get some breathing room. Mark Brown, right outside linebacker, in on the stop. With Art Monk sideline, Gary Clark is the big play man for Washington. He's tied for the league lead in receiving yards, coming in with almost 1,000 yards. The starters on the line are working on their 4th game together after multiple injuries. Jeff Bostic, benched at the start of this season, has made simply a sensational comeback, playing almost on the level of when he did in '83 when he was an All-Pro. Sanders in motion. And the end around. Sanders, nowhere to go. Paul Langford and Rick Graff did a great job of holding their ground, and that Dolphin defense has come on in the last couple of weeks, especially the rookie down lineman John Boza. He has given Miami more of a pass rush than they needed. Linebacking is the strength of this defense. They are all playing very well. Offerdahl has returned from an injury in top form. The secondary, though, it's a problem, especially with Glenn Blackwood lost for the season. William Judson is their best cover man. He will be tested tonight. Loss of 4. And the flanker reverse, 2nd and 14. Kelvin Bryant, number 24, into the ball game. Excellent receiver. And Bryant will carry. And that Dolphin defense swarms at him as he got to only the 19-yard line.
Tackled by John Offerdahl.
There you have it, the matchup right there. Bostic on Sauché. He's driving him off the line. You can't deny it. Bostic got the upper hand there and pushed him way back. It looks like they're going to establish that inside run like they talked about earlier on.
Bostic at 260, Sauché at 274. 3rd and 9. Four-man rush. Schrader floats it incomplete for Don Warren, overthrown. He was covered by Renee Thompson.
This is one of the problems that Jay Schrader has had, particularly early in the football game. He'll usually be wild high early, maybe long early in the first half. Then he'd follow with a picture-perfect missile midway through the second half. Inconsistently, Theismann tells me largely it's because he is, he's been compensating for dropped passes and trying to take something off the football.
Steve Cox will come on to kick. Schwades is deep. What a terrible time he had last week in Philadelphia. The wind gave him a problem. He dropped 3 punts. Cox drops the ball so low, but he can really rifle it out of there. This one not his best kick. And they signal for a fair catch at the 44-yard line. So the Dolphins with excellent position after a 37-yard kick, the fair catch by Bud Brown. Back in a moment. Joe Jacoby had an off year last year, slightly embarrassed in a game against the New York Giants. Lawrence Taylor ate him up, but he has come back and playing Pro Bowl caliber ball again. Although I don't think this year he is back to what he was 2 years ago.
Well, I don't think the Hogs are the Hogs they once were either.
They don't even call them that anymore.
That's right. They really have had problems on the offensive line. That is fundamentally the problem with their running attack, I think, the offensive line.
A lot of injuries.
Yep.
First and 10 Miami. The Dolphins have thrown on first down the 2 previous times. Make it 3. Marino airs this one out. Duper, what a catch! Duper against Darrell Green. Todd Bowles coming over from the safety trying to give him some help. Well, what a sensational catch.
Well, early in the week, David Shula said that they were going to use their wideouts. I asked him about it because the defensive corners are so good for the Redskins. Right here, Duper's working against the corner that's probably the fastest man in the NFL. He makes the play. He goes to the outside, falls down, but still makes the catch. That gives you an indication of how well he had the man beat.
And Darrell Green has been beatable in recent weeks, too.
He gets hung out there by himself an awful lot.
One-on-one on Duper on the outside is a lonely job.
First and 10 from the Washington 20. Johnson, the man in motion. Marino looking that way. Darrell Green that time had Duper covered perfectly, even had inside position.
Surprised that the Dolphins seem undaunted, throwing a lot, even with this inexperienced offensive line.
Yeah, but you got to look at it. It's like David Shula's coordinator said. They're going to go to their wideouts, but they're going to go to them on the outside, out
short
by the
stuff.
sideline. Well, not necessarily short, but not necessarily deep either. They're going to take what they can get to the outside because they know that middle's guarded. If you watch that free safety, number 23 is roaming in that middle looking.
Marino had his 25th 300-yard game last week. That tied Sonny Jurgensen for 3rd all-time. Marino still a child in NFL terms. Stratford can't cut it back as he's pinned at the 19-yard line. Charles Mann was over there to make the tackle. Mann is having a sensational year.
He's a tough customer to run on even. But Stratford, what I liked about Stratford right there is he tucked that ball in, covered it up with both hands when he saw he was in trouble.
Well, you were critical about him earlier in the week, saying that he shifts that ball in his hands too much. That bothers you about Stratford occasionally.
I like to see him with both hands over the football. In the Jets game, he had it with one hand. It got knocked up in the air and intercepted. And on that play, they lost Dwight Stevenson on a block that was late.
3rd and 8 Miami, so Jensen comes in along with 4 wide receivers. Redskins come with a blitz. For Clayton and Barry Wilbert. Picked off his 8th pass of the year. What a comeback by this kid. 2 years ago, they just picked on him something fierce.
Make it 7 consecutive games with an interception now for Wilbert, who now leads the NFC in interceptions.
That is 8 on the year. He has broken up 11 other passes.
Defensive coordinators have been working with him. He's always been able to stay with the man, as he is right there. But in the past, he's kind of not taken the advantage, not been aggressive enough. He's been very careful not to knock the receiver off. But right there, he went for the ball.
And a great athletic play, too. Leaping high to take that ball away.
Well, you're going to see a lot of that, particularly with Duper, because Duper's a great leaper, too.
First break of the ball game for the Redskins. Rodgers, the running back, behind Didier. Didier goes in motion. Rodgers on that counter trey play that John Riggins ran so well out near the 30-yard line. And George Rogers was stung a little bit by Riggins' criticism. He's a very sensitive guy, a lot like Doug Williams in that regard, and I'm sure he would love to come out tonight and show him something.
Watch this play. You'll see Mark May pull and come clear around along with his guard. Look at the two of them coming around the horn. Right here, May goes up in and fills on Ship and puts him out in the peanut seats. It was a well-executed play.
2nd and 1. Redskins will show you more motion than just about anybody. Rogers almost moved and apparently did because they dropped the flag. Rogers was up on his tippy toes.
Well, he did that little stutter step, which would have been all right if they wouldn't have had a man in motion, but they did.
Well, part of the rap against George Rogers is he just hasn't had the big game. He only had one 100-yard game all year, had 6 yards against the Giants, 19 yards against the Rams. He hasn't been the dominant player that they need and they've had in the years past.
Well, maybe in the past few games he hasn't. But the last few plays I've seen him run, he looks like he's out to prove something, and maybe he's got a little chip on his shoulder after some of that tongue lashing he took from Riggins.
The other thing that's happened with George Rogers and the other Redskins back, combination of injuries and the fact that a lot of people played 8 men up front and just said, we're going to stop the run, you got to throw. That's why Schrader's had so many bombs. 2nd and 6 now. Rogers, big hole. Across the 30-32, first down. Bud Brown came up to make the tackle, along with Lifford Hobley, who is in there for the injured Glenn Blackwood.
Rogers didn't look the least bit scared to go up in there that time. There you see Ship and Offerdahl. It appears that they overplayed the thing and gave him the cutback is what happened. It was a mistake. It was an aggressive mistake, but nevertheless a mistake.
Joe Gibbs says he wants a balanced offense. Even though the Dolphins have had trouble stopping the run. Rogers again. Rick Graff was the first man there as he got to the 35-yard line, got some help, and they shove him all the way back. Brian Soche is also in on him along with Jackie Schiff.
The 100-yard game, we bring it up for this reason. It is kind of an overrated stat at times. But when the Redskins running backs get 100 yards, they have been 35-0. So they need the 100-yard game.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, they're going to get it right now because the Hogs, or whatever you want to call them, are knocking the Dolphins off the line of scrimmage. And when that continues, it's going to be a one-sided game.
Kelvin Bryant, number 24, is in there for Rogers. And Bryant on another counter play. Running hard, got to the 38-yard line.
Same play, different side, different ball carrier. On this one, however, Bryant didn't see to break it back in. He didn't stay with his pulling lineman. If you watch him in here, you'll see that we've got him closed on. But you can see the linemen come around there. They're ready to plow up in there and use the momentum and the surge. When that happens, you have to stay with them if you don't have a wide open field, because if you tuck in with them, where those big bodies fall, there'll be a yard or two extra you can gain.
That's been another criticism of the Redskins backs this year, that they have not followed their blocking very well. 3rd and 4. Schrader to Bryant. Great balance, 40-yard line of Miami, first down Redskins, and when he gets loose in the secondary, look out. That was for 22 yards.
It is 22 yards. First down.
He's the guy that can do a lot of things, and now they're starting to employ that. You watch him, they like nothing better than get him out late, drop the ball off to him, get him on with the linebacker one-on-one, and he's one of the best in the open field. Great balance. He took a hit, turned around, lost his balance a little bit, but maintained his balance and ended up with another 4 yards.
Out of North Carolina, was a star in the USFL. Schrader may be changing the play from Miami 40. Rogers back in there. Fumble, and Miami has it. Somebody knocked it away. I think it was T.J. Turner who reached in and got a hand on it, and Rick Graff recovered. That is only the 2nd fumble for George Rogers in his last 15 games. And there is an emotional Rick Graff, the rookie out of Wisconsin. And Joe Gibbs hates fumbles.
So does Don Shula.
Yeah.
Watch it right here, Rogers. Again, the same play. They're going to use it till they force the Dolphins to stop it. Right there, he doesn't have it covered. He was trying to stay up with his pulling guards, but he didn't maintain the concentration, cover the ball.
A turnover for both ball clubs here in the first quarter. Scoreless with 6:17 to go. Marino to the shotgun. And they'll run out of the shotgun and give it to Ron Davenport.
Davenport's been coming back strong in the last couple of weeks after a great first year. Last year, he just didn't produce very well at all. And this year, in the last few games, he's been catching and running as well. Matter of fact, I think they've been using him more as a pass receiver than anything else.
What's Rodgers thinking at this point?
Well, he's got to reach deep down within himself and believe in himself. He came out here definitely to prove something tonight and was. One little mistake like that, you just got to cover that ball. Those linebackers nowadays hit that ball at the same time they hit you.
2nd and 8. Marino with good time, throws complete to Clayton. Clayton stays on his feet, finally driven out of bounds at the Redskin 32-yard line. 25-yard gain.
Mark Clayton told us yesterday he's going to have a big game. He wants to make the Pro Bowl. He said, fellas, you pay attention tomorrow night, meaning tonight.
There he is, driving him off and taking advantage of the outside, just like David Shula talked about early on in the week. They're going to take that outside deep if they'll give it up.
Alvin Walton and Todd Bowles, the safeties, knocked him out of bounds. Very young Redskins secondary. Darrell Green in his 5th year as the veteran back there. Stratford on the toss. Manley missed. The flag goes down. Stratford gets to the 30. Dexter Manley takes that outside hard rush, and you can run inside of it.
Looked like a heavy right cross.
2 men moving, number 83.
That's Clayton.
Well, that's one of the 2 men moving, Fred.
When Stratford seen that he was upfield, he tried to duck under him, and I saw a great, huge arm come across like a right cross there.
Dexter went to the Pro Bowl in '86, has 7.5 for in the Redskins statistics, 7.3 sacks this year. But Charles Mann, the #1 sack man and tackler on the Redskins defensive line. Don Shula says this is where you want to be with 2 weeks to go, still in the chase.
He's not liking a whole lot what he's seeing on the field outside of a few offensive plays, though. He's got a tight look, and he's starting to holler already.
Now it's 1st and 15. Marino to throw deep. Knocked away by Alvin Walton, who almost had the interception. Man-to-man with Stratford.
I think at this point it might be important to note that Dan Marino, save for last week, went through a slump period with the Dolphins. A 3-game slump where he was very un-Marino-like, very mortal. A couple of times tonight, once an interception. He's underthrown balls, huh?
Yeah, well, that was a little underthrown, but Stratford out there, you know, he's got the quickness, but I don't know if he has the flat-out speed to take on some of the secondary of the Redskins, believe me.
James Pruitt comes in as one of the Dolphins wide receivers. They'll go to the top of their screens. They'll go with 3. Redskins come on a blitz, and they get Stratford on the delay. Stratford wrapped up as he got down to the 35-yard line, and Darrell Grant, number 77, on the tackle. Redskins are tough to run against. I mean, you got Dave Butts in there, big guy. Grant's a big guy. Mann plays the run very well.
Dave Butts, I love his shoe size. 14.7E.
I thought it was 12.70. Either way, that's a big
Well, that's
look.
what he told me. It's up to 14 now, 70. That's a wide shoe.
Some an elephant could walk him.
3rd and 12. Dennis Woodbury comes into the ball game in the Redskins secondary. Another blitz. Coleman coming after Marino, and he just threw this one out of bounds. He saw 51. His eyes lit up, and he unloaded.
See the instant replay on this. We'll, we got an ISO on Mann here, and he's well, he didn't really beat his man, but he just carried his momentum, carried him right in it. Of course, Marino's looking at 2 of them coming from each side. He did the only smart thing. He protected his body.
Don Strock who has sometimes in the past been used as a short punter, is on to kick. Redskins had guys rushing on the field late because they didn't know what to do with it. Now they signal fair catch, make it at the 10-yard line. The Redskins were spread all over the field. We've got a timeout with 3:49 left in the scoreless first quarter.
Drock, it pays for him to be versatile. He punted, and he threw kind of a monkey wrench into the Redskins' defensive plans. They didn't know whether to get off the field. Maybe he's going to throw the football. Will he punt? Well, that time he did punt. He was a punter at VPI, Virginia Tech. He's a versatile kicker. He punted for Reggie Roby when he was hurt in the first game.
Redskins have started their own 6, their own 20, and now their own 10. This is Timmy Smith into the ball game for the first time. Gets out to the 12-yard line, and Joe Gibbs says he wanted to use Timmy Smith tonight.
This may be the back of the future for the Washington Redskins. They like Tim Smith. They're going to see more of him down the road. Maybe not so much the rest of this year in the playoffs, but they like the way he runs with the football.
Well, in that particular play, of course, that was his first carry of the game, but he should have stayed with the inside blocking. They had some inside trapping that was working there on the inside of that Dolphin defense. They're going to continue to pound the inside of that defense.
Smith gained only 2. So it's 2nd and 8. Didier to the 34-yard line. Clint Didier, who was a great receiver in college at Portland State, and right now is a cross between a wide receiver and a tight end.
In fact, he had the best average per catch for tight ends last year. That includes people like Bavaro. They looked at Lomax a lot when he was at Portland State, and they found this guy, and it's quite a find for Bobby Beathard. A very underrated tight end in the NFC.
Nothing unusual for Bobby Beathard to find people. You look at where these players have come from. There's only 2 first-round draft choices starting on this ball club. The rest are lower-round draft choices, free agents, trades. He's just done an incredible job. Smith showing some speed and some power. Gets up near midfield. Timmy Smith, the rookie out of Texas Tech.
You take a look at the numbers of people that Bobby Beathard and the front office people have drafted on the squad, but look at the number that's most impressive. Free agents, 18 free agents. That shows a keen eye on talent. Bobby Beathard may be the best judge of talent in football.
I think he is, Roy, and of those 18 free agents, 7 are starters.
Bobby runs the Pentagon of the draft system, I'll tell you.
1st and 10 Redskins. Timmy Smith has had an impressive first quarter here for Washington. Remember, George Rogers fumbled the last time he was in there. Smith, a little hesitation, wrapped up by Offerdahl. And Offerdahl's been quite a story in 1987. Had a very tough injury. Tore up a bicep in his arm, a serious injury. It came back, didn't look like he even missed a step.
He came up well on that. There's my man, Shula. You can tell this play, he's just, I think this was just a play before, but he's letting the refs know that he's not happy.
Can you read lips, by the way, Zon?
I don't have to read his lips. I can tell you exactly what he was saying.
You can say it from memory, right?
Yep.
Schrader against the 3-man rush out to Smith, delayed screen. And a great play by Brown. He cut behind a blocker, Raleigh McKenzie, and made the tackle.
Well, again, Timmy's he's a little excited because he's just in the game. He hesitated a little bit there. His line had the play set up, and had he broke under a little quicker, I think he could have gotten something. It's going to take him a little while to settle down with his offensive line.
3rd down, 9 yards to go near midfield. 1:42 to go. Scoreless first quarter. Incomplete. Schrader going long for Clarence Verdun. And the beat-up Dolphins secondary did a good job on that one.
Stride for stride, Zon. Nice coverage right here.
Well, he's just running even with him. It looked like the Dolphins secondary man there might have got a little contact. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Should be able to see it from this angle.
William Judson on the coverage.
Judson running with him. You see him right here. He's giving him a little push.
Whoa! May have been
Got away with it.
offensive, though. Verdun may have pushed him.
He might have returned the favor, that's all.
Well, Schrader didn't think so, neither did Joe Gibbs, and Cox comes on the fly. Didn't get all of that one either. Brown at the 20. That back to the 27-yard line. 31-yard kick, a return of 7 for Bud Brown out of Southern Mississippi. Late in the first quarter, we are scoreless. Dexter Manley on the Redskins sideline.
Maybe it was an omen that he was born on Groundhog Day. There has been a large shadow over his life. His brother was shot to death. His uncle was effectively a derelict. He had an alcohol problem. He's had alcohol and drug problems. He said he plays for the pain he's had in his life. That kind of aggression he takes out on the football field. He's a great football player, though, no question about it.
Dolphins from their own 28 right now. Marcus Cook, number 74, is in Manley's right end spot. Redskins come on the blitz. Marino got it out. Incomplete. Darrell Green right with Duper attached to his uniform.
Well, we're going to take a look at the replay. Here's very close to interference. We're going to get into it a little late here, but there is some contact there, but I really think he had the opportunity to catch the ball. The Redskins defense has gone to the three-man front. They're sending just about everybody here. They're really trying to put the pressure on Marino early and make him throw that ball quick, thinking they get the reception.
Richie Pettibone, the defensive coach, likes to challenge people. Marino throws this one away. They were trying to get the ball to Duper again, and Darrell Green was stuck right to him. Manley as well.
Again, everyone going. It appears they're blitzing two guys almost the last two plays anyway, and the pressure obviously is having an effect on Marino.
He's got one of the probably the quickest release in all of football, so he doesn't get sacked very often, but they're pressuring him.
I was going to say that's the reason they seem to always do so well in the sack department against the Dolphins. It's a deceptive stat.
Yeah,
because he gets rid of it so quick.
But he frustrates defensive linemen who get within an inch of him just to see him gun it. 3rd and 10. Out of the shotgun. Marino unloads this time. Clayton. And incomplete. He wanted a penalty flag on Dennis Woodbury, but won't get it. And the Redskins, outside of one play, have done a great job on man-to-man coverage.
Well, there it is. He's running stride for stride with him. And I didn't see anything that looked like interference. It might have been a little bumping. I think that's more him bumping the defender than the defender bumping him.
Yeah, go to the ball.
Has missed his last 5 passes. Roby sails one out of there for Yarber. Oh! And Yarber brought down by Woody Bennett at the 25. Great kick coverage by the fullback. A 2-yard return after a 47-yard punt.
Eric Yarber at 5'8", 156. I mean, you know, if you let this kid sit on your lap, he's going to get on a bus for half fare. I mean, this is a little guy, Eric Yarber.
Next Sunday, the last regular season day of the year. We'll have game day starting at 11:30 a.m. live, and then Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, and Pete Axtell will be back at 7 o'clock Eastern for NFL primetime, followed by our game, the Rams and the 49ers. Right now, the Rams still in contention for a wild card spot, and O.J. Simpson will be our guest analyst for that one. Redskins start from their own 26. Rogers back in the ballgame.
You recognize the play? No.
So did the Dolphin defense.
Well, they're starting to shut it down. They're expecting it now. They're going to the well very often because it's worked. But I'll tell you what's happening out on that field emotionally right now. These two teams are getting very, very physical. The Redskins team is elected to go after Marino and try to kill the queen bee, so to speak. And they're starting to react. The Dolphins don't like it, and they're getting physical in retaliation.
T.J. Turner stood his ground on that one. 19 seconds to go in the first quarter. Bryant is in for Rogers. Bryant on the delay. Behind May and Thielman, and forget it.
Well, again, he had it to the inside if you would have followed his blocking inside.
And John Offerdahl makes the big tackle. It'll make it 3rd and long for the Redskins when we come back.
$3,900 to order the official Super Bowl 22 game program. 192 action-packed pages, including a week-by-week review of the season. Only $5.95. Credit card orders only. Get to the phone for the ultimate souvenir of the game.
For Jay Schrader this year. In fact, after he was benched by Joe Gibbs, he walked out on his radio show after the game. The fans didn't dig that too much. Neither did WMAL in Washington. A lot of the writers say that he's just not as easygoing as he used to be, and he's very tight emotionally, very suspicious of the media. And as we said before, the fans have been all over Schrader this year in the D.C. area.
3rd and 4 for Washington.
He's involved in a very physical game right now.
Sanders in motion. Schrader hits Sanders, and Sanders to the 41-yard line. Good enough for a first down. Langford on the tackle. And this is not the strong suit of Jay Schrader, the short passes, but he has done very well tonight with those. Usually he's a bomber.
Be patient with that stuff, you know, throwing underneath. Ricky Sanders, another little guy. All these little guys on this. In fact, I think the Redskins draft receivers out of Toys R Us.
Tell you what, they've established a running game that the Dolphins defense has to respect, and that's opened up that short pass.
Great fake by Schrader this time. Over the middle. Gary Clark couldn't hold the high pass at the Dolphin 40. Great play fake by Schrader. And Rodgers really carried it out well.
2nd and 10.
Yeah, here's a guy I cut from the USFL.
Turns out to be one of the best in the business. Why'd you cut him, Zonk?
Well, he had a lot of problems with nagging injuries, and we thought perhaps it was more of a personality thing, a mood thing. Then we cut him and let him go, and Bobby Beathard, of course, had the rights to him in the NFL, picked him up, took him up to Washington. He started out as a kick returner, got his knee injured. I think between being cut and having an injured knee, he reassessed his situation.
Caught 8 passes last week, too.
He has now become a superstar, and he is the man who is targeted because Art Monk is still out injured. Schrader rifles this one to Clark. First down. Brown flattened him from behind at the 40.
Did you hear what he said last week, Gary Clark, about his legs? He said, at 25, I have old legs. I couldn't figure. I mean, Ann Miller has old legs. This guy doesn't have old legs.
He's been had a lot of problem, or been having problem with his hamstring a lot. That's what bothered him in Jacksonville.
Oh.
Cold weather. Right there, his back, his lower back may well be bothering him after that.
Right.
It's good to see that he's overcome a lot of those nagging injuries, though, and he's out on the field and producing.
1st and 10 at the Miami 40. Tim Smith gets about 4. Maybe we'll hear more about Ann Miller this week because last time you talked about Gary Hart, and he's running for president.
That's right. Everybody makes a comeback on my line.
That's right.
There's the meat and potatoes of this game for the Redskins offense, what you just got to look at right there. It was first down. It's now 2nd and 6. That puts us in that position that the offensive coordinator likes. You don't know whether they're going to run or pass right here.
Timmy Smith at 216 has some speed, and he runs hard. Warren and Didier, the 2 tight ends, they'll shift all over the field. Blitz coming. Schrader still has time. Gets it off to Sanders. And he gets the first down at the Miami 28-yard line. Mac Brown was coming hard from the outside, or Mark Brown, excuse me, but didn't get there.
Yeah, Sanders blew some early season routes, the assistant coaches were telling us. But he's really in the groove now. Besides, with Art Monk in a knee brace for at least 10 more days, the Redskins don't have a lot of options. They got to go with this guy.
Schrader now 6 out of 9 for 77 yards.
He's working his run and pass combination very well.
And that's what Joe Gibbs told us he wanted to do.
He's dictating.
Smith inside the 25 to the 24-yard line.
They're handling the nose guard. They've been doing it since the beginning of the game. If they continue to do that on the inside, eventually they've got to get some points out of it. My goodness, they're rolling up a lot of yardage.
What kind of adjustments do you make then with Sauché and Turner up in the middle?
What kind of adjustments would I make, Roy?
Yeah.
I'd pull those backers up in there a little closer. The inside backers are still 3 and 4. Well, they're 4 yards off the ball. They'll squeeze down and put some pressure. They'll crowd some people into that middle.
2nd and 6 again for Washington. Smith, the running back. He'll get the ball. Stop shy of the 21. Jackie Shipp was in there along with Brown and T.J. Turner.
The problem with first down situation or second, that particular yardage situation, if you start to anticipate that power run inside and send people in there, they'll run a play action at you and just kill you downfield. You can see Olivadotti is starting to respond to it. He's coming up with some ideas of his own.
Kelvin Bryant comes in on 3rd and 3.
Tough position for the defense, particularly with their backs against the wall.
Redskins show 3 wide receivers. Bryant is the running back. Schrader looking toward Bryant and is wide on the pass at the 20. Would not have been a first down anyway.
Looked like Boza put a little pressure on him or rushed him a little bit and made a difference.
A defensive struggle. We had it all wrong, guys.
Who would have believed it?
Wow.
Ali Haji Sheikh will try from 38 yards. He's made 11 of 14 field goals this year. He's had an excellent year. Jess Atkinson was injured, and Sheikh took his place.
Good thing they don't put your first name on your jersey, too. You know what I mean?
And he hooked it wide. So the Dolphins have held with 10:41 to go in the half. We're still scoreless in Miami. 88 German-engineered Volkswagens and your Volkswagen dealers. And by the financial professionals at Payne Weber. Mike Patrick, Roy Firestone, and Larry Zonka with you from Miami. The Redskins and the Dolphins, 0-0. A tough first half for Dan Marino. 3 out of 12, 85 yards and an interception. Stratford can't break this one either. Somebody got a piece of him, and then Alkowitz finished him off at the 25.
Well, he picked up somewhere between 4 and 5 yards. What I was about to say when we first came out was that Dolphins have to establish some kind of running game because the defense is starting to dictate to them.
The Sheik has been having his troubles. He missed a few point afters. Not much faith in him past the 40. Gibbs says he's not into long field goals, but what can he say under the circumstances? If the league doesn't expand to Baghdad, I think he's going to need 3 wishes next year.
Marino on a roll. And got it over the middle, complete to Hardy. At the 40-yard line. Marcus Cook was all the way downfield with him, along with Kaufman, Alkowitz, and Coleman, all 3 Redskin linebackers.
Well, Marino's having to roll because he's having problems in the pocket. He does it pretty well here, but he looked like he was in trouble. Look at me from this angle, and he was throwing it into a double coverage situation.
He suggested rolling out yesterday. When we spoke to him, I say, you a rollout quarterback? He said, no, not by any means, but we might have to do that.
You see what they're doing to man right there? Woody Bennett circled out and came back on him. They're doubling up on him to slow him down.
1st and 10 from the 40. Marino to the shotgun. Manley is back in there at right defensive end. Over the middle to Stratford. Got a block from Davenport across midfield to the Redskin 48. Kaufman in on the tackle along with Monty Coleman, a 12-yard gain. And Stratford just adds so much to this offense.
Bobby Beathard loves the fact that this guy can turn on a dime. We watch man.
There's that great arm power. He literally slapped that offensive tackle out of the way, but then he picked up a double team help from the inside, which was Dellenbach, which is a load in himself. He's 6'6" and about 280.
Well, Dennis is 291. He moved him with 1 arm. That's not bad. Stratford on the toss. Bennett in front. Down to the Redskin 45-yard line. Darrell Green came up from the corner to assist on the stop.
We talked a little bit about Troy Stratford earlier this year. You weren't with us. What are your thoughts on this guy? You remind you of Joe Morris, as some people have compared him to?
No, well, maybe a mixture of Joe Morris and Jim Kick. You know, he doesn't have the speed, I don't think, that Morris perhaps has, but at the same time, he's got that niftiness. He's quick, covered the ball well there, followed his blocking. And what the Dolphins are doing is got to establish that running game, and they're making a good stab at it.
Dan Johnson is in there for Hardy at tight end. And Stratford tripped up just as he got back to the line of scrimmage. Mel Kaufman was in the backfield. Got a piece of him.
My goodness, half that Redskins defensive line came through there. They're having some real problems. The Dolphins are having some real problems up front. There's no doubt about it. They're trying to get around it by rolling Marino out a little bit and trying some different odds and ends plays to establish some kind of running game to get them to pull off, get that defense to back off.
3rd and 6. Only 7.5 minutes to go in the fastest first half of football we've had this year. 3-man rush. Man still gets in there against Marino. Got it to Jensen. Jensen down to the 35-yard line, first down, and Man leveled the quarterback.
This is your guy. You love Jim Jensen.
Absolutely. He's a utility guy. You can put him at wide receiver. Well, here's Man coming in on Marino. You can see the kind of hit that Marino took after that throw to Jensen. Getting back to Jensen, like I say, he's the utility man, and he can play wide out for you. He can play a little tight end. He can play quarterback, or he can go down and cover on the kickoff.
Look at the hit after the... Oh, boy, right his neck it looked.
Let me ask you something. Do you think Marino's overpaid now?
I never did. End around. Clayton trying to get away from Kaufman. And he's run out of bounds by Kurt Gouveia, reserve linebacker. That last catch by Jensen, by the way, his 23rd of the season. In 6 previous years, he'd only caught 19 passes. Yeah. So they've really decided they're going to use him this year.
He's a great kid. We tried to lure him up to the USFL in Jacksonville, and he wouldn't even talk with us. He's so intent on being an integral part of this Dolphins program. Anywhere, it doesn't matter. I think he would play free safety, strong safety. He would do anything.
You offered him the same money, and he still wouldn't come over, right?
I guaranteed him that we'd pay him the same money if he'd just talk with us.
Marino gunned that one, and his receiver Duper never came back for it. Wilburn did, and look at the look on Marino's face.
Is that a smile or a grimace? I don't know.
That's tight.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're jabbing at him with little punches. They're rolling him out. They're flipping out, trying the different plays just to establish some kind of offense. Get that defense to stop just zooming in on him. And then they're going to try to take and set him up in the pocket, set Marino up in the pocket, and go for the bomb.
3rd and 6 now. There are the numbers on Marino. Redskins with 5 defensive backs. Dolphins with 4 wide receivers. Here comes the blitz. Coleman almost got there, made him hurry at the pass, incomplete to Stratford. Coverage by Todd Bowles, but there is a marker down.
Clayton looked like he started a little early on that one.
Dan Marino appeared to be talking to Marcus Cook, number 74.
Number 83.
And it's motion against the Dolphins, which will bring up 4th down.
Clayton again called for a penalty.
That's 2 motion penalties on Clayton.
Watch the top left here, folks. Right there.
Yeah, that's called a pucker.
A pucker?
That's a pucker. Yeah, he didn't really commit the sin, but it was so close that they go ahead and make the mark on him.
Field goal is number 7, Claude Revay.
And now the Redskins once again changing personnel on the fly, and they will let Claude Revay try from 48 yards. And that is his long this season.
He's had a hamstring pull.
Did not kick last week, but he's back.
Yeah, he had an injury in the Jets game. He had to help make a tackle.
Got a chance. Oh, yeah.
First
Revay with 10 yards to spare. Puts the Miami Dolphins on top. 6:16 to go, first half.
For the better part of a decade. Worked with Don Shula, of course, in Baltimore, too. Done a tremendous job, not only with the players that he's have to shift in and out, but the replacement players, too. Makeshift offensive lines, and he has succeeded.
All he's lost in the last couple of weeks is Pro Bowler Dwight Stevenson and then Lee at right tackle. Last week they finished the game with 5 guys in uniform who were offensive linemen. I mean, one more injury, they go to a tight end or a fullback or somebody.
Woody Bennett was backing up, getting ready to go in.
And Bruce Hardy, and you can't believe how Bruce Hardy was helping take care of those linemen when they came off the field.
Verdun at the 1. Got outside of the containment to the 25-yard line. A 24-yard return by Clarence Verdun.
You know, we talked about the Dolphins' offensive line and the changes in the last couple of weeks. Giesler and Foster the same, but Stevenson out, replaced by Jeff Dallenbach, who only had 1 game under his belt. Toth And Dennis replacing, their situations that have developed. Dennis, an 8th-round pick out of Illinois. A lot of inexperience.
A lot of injuries up there, too, to the fellas that are playing tonight. Giesler, both have sore knees and so on. So it's it's put together with Band-Aids and chewing gum for tonight.
Timmy Smith, the deep man in the eye. Don Warren in motion. Schrader with a lot of time, dumped it off incomplete, tried to get it to Smith, and a great hit by Jackie Shipp, the one-time #1 draft choice out of Oklahoma. There was the scoring driver. Aves finished it off beautifully with a 48-yarder. With a slight breeze at his back, it would have been good from 55.
Well, they love the way he was kicking this week. He showed no signs of that pull, that muscle pull. He was booming him in practice.
Fellas, on that last play, they allowed Schrader too much time. If that keeps up, you're going to have to pay the price. You'll see something deep now.
This club has only 20 sacks. They've gotten 8 of them in the last 2 weeks. Low for Bryant and his ankles.
He was looking for Clark deep. Clark tried to set up the corner and take it deep. He just didn't have enough time. Schrader cut him off and go to the short.
Here you see the rookie, John Boza, at a Boston college working up against Joe Jacoby. Going to school here, learning the lessons.
Yeah, you see him do that roll and do the slap and push, but he's pushing on a guy that weighs about 300 pounds. But I'll tell you what, Boza's not a rookie anymore. I know by name he is, but that young man is learning fast. He pays attention, he pays the price in practice.
3 sacks in the last couple of weeks.
He's coming on.
He'll really have one if he gets by Jacoby. Schrader, 6 out of 12, 77 yards in the first half. He's missed his last 3. He loves to go deep. Dan. And it looked like Renee Thompson stopped on the play, and Dan just kept going, and the ball was right there. 55 yards.
Well, like I said, they've given him a little time, and you knew that bomb was going to come.
As we said before, he doesn't look too great in the short stuff, but Schrader, when he goes up top deep, he can throw those missiles. Another USFL guy from the Houston Gamblers, Clarence Verdun. Stepped out of bounds a little earlier in that.
Renee Thompson simply appeared to stop and then looked around at the referee like he wanted an interference call.
Beautiful catch. In stride.
So the Redskins down to the Miami 20, trailing 3-0 with 5:44 to go. Timmy Smith is in it running back for the Redskins. Schrader knocked away by Hobley as they were intending it for Didier near the goal line.
Schrader wants pass interference, of course. Hobley, I thought, had great coverage on that play. Right on top of the action.
Last play, 55 yards, the longest against Miami this year.
Now here's the coverage. Maybe it was face guarding, perhaps.
No, you got to have both hands up and moving both arms.
Come on, guys. There's nothing wrong with that.
You got to let him play defense, don't you?
Man, there was a little bump right there. That on the other angle we saw.
Little bumps don't count.
2nd and 10, Skins. Schrader for Bryant. To the 9.
Right there.
Opperdahl made the tackle, but Kelvin Bryant gets open.
Well, they're getting Bryant one-on-one with that inside backer. That time I think it was Opperdahl that had him. Opperdahl's got to stay off of him and respect him because of his quickness and his speed. He just hooks up when he sees Opperdahl drop off. Now he tries to break it. It's a testimony to Opperdahl to catch him and take him down.
1st and goal from the 9, and Schrader's big play capability plays tonight at 22, 22, and 55 out of his 8 completions.
Well, this is a good football game.
It is. Smith looked a little bit confused on it.
Bobbled the handoff. There was some confusion between the quarterback and him on the handoff, but that's that same play they're coming back to. Right here, the ball.
Right there.
Schrader handed a little too far past him. He adjusted well. This is a seasoned veteran here after the mistake, learning to readjust and go for the tailor.
Somehow he still got 3 yards out of it, so it's 2nd and goal from the 6.
You hear the crowd livening up.
Kelvin Bryant, the running back. Bryant got Mark May in front of him. Touchdown, Redskins.
Same play.
Kelvin Bryant. They said he couldn't take the pounding. Mr. Hamstring pull, they call him. The Jim Palmer of pro football always wants to come out with an injury. Looked pretty healthy here, Zonk.
Well, he dances right in there. That's a tough place to dance, right on the goal line, too. Get yourself hurt dancing in there.
Ali Haji Sheikh will come on. First rushing touchdown of the year. Who scored 5 times on passes. And Sheikh adds the point after. So Kelvin Bryant's touchdown with 4:07 to go in the first half gives the Redskins a 7-3 lead.
Bryant at $8 million over 4 years. Some critics have said that he's the USFL's revenge on the NFL. Fact is, in 9 straight years in college and pro football, he has been injured at some point every single year. Healthy tonight, gets in the end zone for the Skins.
And when he's healthy, look out. He finds a way to make the plays. Hampton up to the 10. Almost broke it, got out to the 29. Caravello's down there on the tackle along with Orr. We've got 3:57 to go in the first half. 7-3 Redskins in a game that the Dolphins must win to stay alive. And Verdun had a 55-yard catch in the middle of that drive that went 75 yards.
I don't know if you happened to see it on that last kickoff, but the fellas in the wedge were hit by some of those Redskins coming down. There was some real body collisions there about the 20-yard line.
Like Caravello and Hamill at 290.
A lot of beef pounded downfield.
Marino to the shotgun. Here comes Manley from behind. Got it out to Stratford. They just dug up some loose turf over there as Monty Coleman made the tackle.
Talk about the footing here, Larry. It appears that, look at that, right that area. What are they doing?
Well, I don't know what that is. And this stadium was built with a baseball field in mind. And I swear to you, that looks like pitcher's mound up at Shea Stadium.
But they haven't played baseball here.
Well, I don't know what it is. Perhaps there's an underground pipe or something that's been giving them problems. But that is a very bad area right there.
It's like a day at the beach.
Buried treasure. 2nd and 2 for the Dolphins. Stratford on the delay. Big hole. Nice cut. Dives back to the 45-yard line.
Great cut at the end. Ran into his own man, unfortunately. Stratford's come on as the #1 running back for the Dolphins. The only thing I don't like right here is look where that ball's at.
Here it is.
He runs up through the middle. He's a fine young running back, obviously. Everyone knows that. But I just wish he'd put that ball away when he goes through the middle.
He is the first Dolphins running back since 1982 to have 3 100-yard games in the season. They were sorely lacking that. Marino to a wide open Clayton, and he overthrew him. Oh, he had a step.
See, that running game mixing in is giving Marino time to go to the bomb. That's what he has to have. I just can't believe that he was that much off on that throw.
This has not been a good night for Dan Marino.
7 out of 19, only 129 yards, 1 interception.
Well, you get so used to this guy putting the ball right pinpoint exactly where it should be. You know, the balls that he throws downfield have very little arc on them. They're usually almost like a frozen rope going down there. So you get a little spoiled when you're watching.
2nd and 10. Skins love the blitz. Here they come. They don't get there. And over the middle, Davenport. Still on his feet inside the 30 to the 26. Barry Wilburn made the tackle there, along with Todd Bowles. And it's a gain of 29.
This young man, Ron Davenport, has come on like gangbusters. Watch the pass here over the middle to Davenport. He would have been cut in the preseason. Had Tom Brown, a reserve back, not gotten hurt. 16 catches in the last 4 games. Had 10 catches a week ago. Big addition. Big change for the Dolphins. Dolphins trail 7-3. We'll be back after this.
You've got a 7-3 Redskin lead right now, but the Dolphins threatening. Tomorrow night we've got UCLA and California. Hoops on the West Coast starting at 11 o'clock Eastern Time live. And we are now into basketball season, but football not yet over, and neither are the Dolphins' chances to make the playoffs. Cooper, touchdown! Beaten by a step, and Marino on target for the score. And Reves will try to make it a 10-7 game.
Quad has the same build as the kicker we used to have. Also a great. Missed it. He hit the upright.
Really jerked that one sideways, so it's 9-7 instead of 10-7.
I was just about to bragging on him and compare him to Gary Apremian, but I guess I'll back off.
All right, here's Mark Duper coming right at you. This guy had a rib problem early, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, right around the Dallas game. In fact, he had just come back to the Dallas game. Cartilage separation of his ribs from taking shots over the middle. Refused to take the needle. Didn't want to take the needle to play football, the painkiller. But he's healthy now, and you see it right there, beating his man. The missed extra points on.
It looks like he loses his footing a little bit when he comes through. He ends up with both his feet nearly crossed and up in the air. Head up. I don't know. Doesn't look good. I don't know if I can blame that on an injury or not.
Marino, who had a streak of 30 straight games where he threw a touchdown pass, has one in this one.
By the way, not even close to the best percentage for quarterbacks this year. Bernie Kosar faring better. John Elway faring better. I asked him if it bothered him that he may not make the All-Pro. He says, sure. Being an All-Pro is important to me. I want to make an All-Pro, although I realize that guys like Kosar and Elway are having better years.
I think he'll make it. He can do such spectacular games that he can change that quarterback rating in a hurry, and there's so much respect for him around the league.
Well, we can't blame the missed extra point on an injury because he just booted that one, 6 yards deep. I don't know,
the Redskins will start from the 20 with 154. And now we are told there is a broken pipe down around the opposite 35-yard line. The reason for all that loose sod down there. And loose isn't even an apt description of it. I mean, you look at it and it comes up.
Reminds me of the old polyturf, son. Remember the polyturf coming apart at the seams?
Yeah,
it's like an ice skating rink one day.
Polyturf is pretty bad, granted, but I think if you've ever played or been up to a game in Shea Stadium, when they still had the baseball diamond out there, it makes that look mild, believe me.
See what the Redskins can do with a final 154 from their own 20, down 9-7. Bryant on the delay. And about 5, gang tackle at the 25-yard line.
Rodgers hasn't been in the game much since the fumble. It appears they're going with Kelvin now on a pretty regular basis. I think both these running backs, after taking a lot of abuse in the press, came down here with something on their mind, kind of bent on proving all the press wrong.
Redskins don't appear to be in a hurry right here with 1:25 to go. Inside Jacoby. Nice move. Got out to the 45-yard line. First down Redskins after a 20-yard run. And the Skins will now take a timeout.
This is the best running we've seen Kelvin Bryant perhaps run all year long.
Well, as I said earlier, he's bent on showing people they've been wrong about what's been said in the press. Right here, how do you describe this? Look at the size of that hole. You could drive a semi through there. Once he gets downfield, he starts to move. He gets a little tripped up there, but it was a fine cut. But you have to talk about how great the offensive line performed for him on that one.
Here you see Joe Gibbs. If he were a color, he'd be beige. It's a guy that sleeps at the Redskin office 3 times a week. For a while, he had his wife make videotapes of his family and report on developments in the household all week. He stopped doing it because apparently Mrs. Gibbs turned those tapes into her personal lecture about family responsibilities. Gibbs couldn't deal with the guilt trip, I think, of all of
Where
that.
do you find those kind of things out, Roy?
No,
You amaze me.
that's a story that's pretty well known in the Washington area. He had her stop sending the tapes.
Hard to find anyone else who is as dedicated to coaching football as Joe Gibbs. Schrader got him from behind. Brian Soche, the nose tackle that time, lined up as the right defensive end and got the sack.
Takes on the big man, drives him back. Schrader can't get rid of it. He breaks it. And when he does, Brian makes the tackle.
Really a coverage sack, wasn't it, though?
I don't think he so much beat the offensive lineman as he waited for the break.
38 seconds to go in the half. The Redskins taking their time. Schrader being chased. Verdan in the flat. And Verdan blasted as he got to the 47-yard line and did not get out of bounds to stop the clock, and Schrader will use another timeout.
It's weird. They're using the timeouts, but they don't seem like they really are intent on moving the ball upfield and trying to get a field goal.
In between the timeouts, they're wasting 10, 15 seconds on every play, and on that one, Verdan didn't even bother to get out of bounds. We've got NFL scores, highlights coming up at halftime. Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, and Pete Axtell will be with you. And they'll have their views on the first half, and then we'll have Larry Zonka and Jim Kick back together.
Yes, reunited.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. What about skeletons out of the closet?
What about the Sports Illustrated cover? You guys take some heat for that a few years back, you and Kick?
Well, you just can't take Kick anywhere. You know what I mean?
But it was you, Zonka.
Oh, was it me?
Yeah.
It's been so long, I've forgotten about it, Roy.
There's the cover.
You never fail. You always come up with something that's you stay up late at night burning the candles thinking of these things Firestone.
That's it.
21 seconds to go in the half. The Redskins have the ball at their own 47. One timeout left. Miami comes with a 4-man rush. Schrader has it tipped and almost intercepted. Intended for Clark. It looked like David Fry got his hands on it back there as Schrader tried to rifle one over the middle. And it brings up a 4th down.
I don't know if there's been an injury or anything. Here you see Clark coming over the middle. He's running a good pattern. It's just the ball. Well, he didn't see the linebacker underneath.
David Fry getting his hands up there.
He really should have hooked that up a little shorter and not drifted into that linebacker.
14 seconds to go. Cox with Schwady standing at his 15. See if Miami comes after Cox. Made the shot, and Cox crushed it. Schwady lets it go. And this may be a waste of a great punt with 2 seconds to go in the first half as he put it down on the 3. A 51-yard kick by Steve Cox. Next Sunday, hope you're going to be with us all day, starting at 11:30 for game day. Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, Pete Axtell. That same group will be back at 7 o'clock for NFL primetime. John Saunders will join the men. You'll see highlights of all the NFL games and find out who gets into the playoffs and who doesn't. And then we'll have our game, the Rams and the 49ers. Roy Firestone and I will be there. And we'll have O.J. Simpson as our guest analyst. By the way, we'll also have a game day next Saturday, because some of the NFL games will be played on Saturday. All Miami has to do is make sure not to step back too far. Reno does, and runs out the first half. So the Dolphins who have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, and the Redskins, who would like to win to keep that home field advantage opportunity alive, have ended the first half, and it's Miami 9 and the Redskins 7. I invite you to stay tuned with us for halftime, but right now, let's join Chris Berman.
All right, Mike Patrick, thank you very much. And so an enjoyable first half that finds the Dolphins on top 9-7, and Tom Jackson.
Memories. I feel like Barbra Streisand, the way we were, the way they are. Jim Kick, Larry Zonka, they're back. Butch and Sundance. You guys have never figured out which one is Butch and which one is Sundance, right?
No, Roy, I was always a better looking one. Whichever one that was, we've never decided. So.
Here all along, I thought it was because we smelled like a horse.
What, do you remember the first time you met Larry Zonka?
Yeah, I met Larry at the College All-Star game in Chicago, and I should have foreseen things that were going to happen in the future for a 200-pound running back blocking for a 250-pound running back. I met Larry sneaking up after curfew at 4 o'clock in the morning in a fire escape. And the last rung of the fire escape wasn't down. So I figured, well, I'll jump on Larry's back and pull it down. But no, it didn't work that way. Larry jumped on my back and pulled it down.
He was carrying me ever after that.
Real team man, huh? What are your memories most of all about this guy?
Well, the good times. I think the most vivid memories are the days on the field. Jim always had a very laid-back attitude. Bob Greasy was always a quiet, reserved quarterback.
By the way, Greasy's up here watching this.
I know he's got his eye on me. He's liable to come down here and take the mic. But at any rate, with those two guys on the field, I had to inject a little humor, so I would do my best.
You think this guy to your left is the epitome of a man's man?
Well, I'm not into man's man. I like women's one. But yeah, Larry is, I guess, is a man's man. He's your typical, you know, he likes to get the blood all over his uniform, likes to be dirty, and he's carried that over after the football field. He's still the same way.
Not entirely true, Roy, because I really kind of preferred having other people's blood on my uniform if at all possible.
What about the fact, there was a rumor for a while that you guys went your separate ways, that you had a rift, that you didn't like each other. Let's put that one to rest.
Well, I always liked Jim. I don't know. Do you always like me?
Well, ever since I, got on his shoulders and get the fire escape down, yeah, I've always, that's just a story. We've always been friends, and hopefully we'll remain friends for a long time.
I think we go our own ways, respectively. So, you live your life, you have to make certain turns. So sometimes we're together, sometimes we're not, but I always stay in touch. I generally call him once a week, make sure he's still alive.
You guys should do a phone commercial. Someone to share a smile, something like that. Butch and Sundance are back in the Orange Bowl. We'll come back with the action in the second half right after this.
The third quarter in Miami, the Dolphins up by a pair. Fuad Reves shown a lot of leg strength. Remember, he had the bad thigh a week ago and couldn't kick. He has missed an extra point tonight, but it didn't have anything to do with strength. And Clarence Verdun is waiting around his 2-yard line.
Doesn't look like Fuad has any thigh pads on. For a guy with a bruised thigh, you'd think he would be over-padded in that area instead of under-padded.
This one high and short for Dan at the 11. Jensen made him cut back in, and he gets back out to the 27-yard line. Donovan Rose on special teams made the stop. Here are the halftime statistics, and the Redskins with 41 yards more in total offense. But really, everything else pretty close, except for time of possession. The Redskins doing what they want to do. Not that they want to keep the ball that much. They want to keep Marino off the field.
Dolphins with only 27 rushing yards, though. They got to do something about that in the second half.
This is the best field position start the Redskins have had tonight. George Rogers, the running back, behind Schrader. Rogers hit in the backfield and stacked up. Offerdahl was the guy who took him down. John Bosa, the first man that hit him. First quarter a little slow as both teams had some troubles. The Redskins cost themselves one drive with a fumble there after 6 plays, but 2 out of the first 3 times they had to punt the ball away. Missed a field goal from long range, and then got their touchdown on a 7-play drive. 2nd and 8 as Rogers picked up a couple. He remains as the running back. Schrader, far sideline and wide, and incomplete, intended for Didier. Closest man to it was Langford on coverage.
Once again, starting slowly, particularly the short stuff for Schrader. and he'll open it up. That's been his pattern. But always better in the second half than he is early in the first half.
And particularly the third quarter with his most yardage coming in that period. 3rd and 8. And now you see the change on that Dolphin defensive line as Soche goes outside and John Bosa, number 97, goes inside. Schrader with all day to throw and throws wide for Gary Clark, who was open. Bud Brown, the defender, but Schrader about 2 yards wide left.
Of course, the Dolphins working without their captain on the defense in the secondary, Glenn Blackwood, out for this season, maybe for good. He may have to consider retirement now at age 30 with a severely torn knee last week.
The secondary wasn't scaring people to death even with Blackwood.
But he was solid back there, if nothing else.
Steve Cox waiting for the ball at the 15. Schwades is deep to return. Fair kick by Cox. Schwades is buried. Brian Davis, the rookie, came down on special teams. A 37-yard kick, and Schwades had about chance to bat his eyes before Davis drilled him. Here are the Dolphin drives in the first half, and this is a big play, explosive offense, stopped by an interception on the second drive as Marino had a little trouble getting started. Roby was busy in the first half, but then, like the Redskins, they started to heat up, got a field goal from Reves, and then got their touchdown. So we have a 9-7 ball game. And we had an ineligible man downfield on that last punt to make the Redskins do it over again.
We'll see what the impact of that hit a few moments ago on Schwades was.
Would you be a little more likely this time to call for the fair catch?
I think I would have buttoned up my chin strap before I walked out on the field and have my mouthpiece in already.
Fumbled the ball 3 times last week. This guy is very sure-handed historically.
Cox checking the defensive alignment. Really got this one up there. Looked like one of Roby's kicks. And Schwades, fair catch. Back at the 27-yard line. And listen to the crowd.
Yeah.
He had a lot more room on this one than he did on the last one. 48-yard kick and no return by Cox.
He didn't have the time to really survey the situation. He had to look up so long that he was unaware of where it was coming from.
This is what he was thinking about. The first time he was hit on the punt coverage, he got nailed pretty good. Oh, next time, he's got the memory.
Brady's a good returner. He knows what to expect.
Yeah.
I don't think that influenced his second reception there at all, really.
Got him as a kick returner and a receiver. He has not caught a pass this year. Davenport in the backfield off of Stratford. Marino out of the shotgun. Clayton brought down by Wilburn as he got out to the 46-yard line.
You're starting to see that shotgun formation on first down, much like they did and executed last week against the Eagles. And that's, of course, where Jensen came into play and was used a lot in the center of the field.
Why the shotgun on first down?
Because of the time element. It gives him much more vision and more time to throw the ball.
Playing without Dwight Stevenson and Ronnie Lee. Stevenson, of course, one of the best that's ever played at the center position. Lee, a starter at right tackle. They're both out injured. Second and short. Davenport feeling his way through there. Olkowitz on top of him. Looks like he has enough for the first down.
You were talking about Dwight Stevenson's injury. That's a very severe injury. Indeed, perhaps career-threatening. Don Shula, for one, and a number of players very upset at the hit by Marty Lyons that finished Dwight Stevenson for the season. Some people talk about vengeance on this football team under their breath. They believe that the play involving Stevenson was 20 yards downfield.
Well, that's the only
fumble.
That's the only thing wrong with the thing that bothered Shula with it. Very far removed from where the action was.
First and 10. Full shotgun again.
And a rollout, too.
Marino for Clayton and almost intercepted by Todd Bowles. Bowles, the free safety. They try to keep him in the center of the field as much as possible so he can go side to side and help double team the ball.
even on a shotgun and a rollout. Great pressure here for Marino.
Well, he's got the roving pocket. The backup, Dillenbach, is getting out there, showing a lot of mobility.
Well, that's a beautiful pass, isn't it? Even though it was incompleted.
Well, actually, it was had it just another yard and a half further, might have been another story.
Bowles got over there to help out Wilbert. Marino now 10 out of 23, 192 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He faces 2nd and 10. 3-man rush. Dumps it to Stratford. Nice move to get away from Gouveia, and then Dave Butts trailing the play. If you had your choice, you'd want Gouveia to tackle you instead of Butts.
Well, you don't want Butts to tackle you downfield, that's for sure. On that last situation, in that formation, you're starting to see that safety, number 23, laying out there in the middle of the field. He's wise to the fact that they're going to come in there late and try to drop it over the middle.
There's the old veteran, Dave Butts.
One of the gentlest people I've ever met. I mean, he will smash somebody in the backfield, always make sure he picks them up, see if they're all right. He'll smash them again next time, but he'll pick them up again.
Different kind of gentle.
Yeah. Carves decoys is a hobby, and he's very good at it. Marino behind Jensen, and he couldn't hold it. Mel Kaufman had fallen down on the coverage, and it was a first down, but Marino was behind him.
Marino missing again here.
He seems to be off just a little, but it's enough.
And plenty of field up front for him, too.
And Roby comes on to punt.
Does he have his watch on?
Look at that. He wears a watch on the field. I've never seen that before.
Wants to check his hang time.
Sails this one up. Fair catch called by Dan at the 22. 36-yard kick.
Here's a shot of Reggie Roby wearing his watch on the field.
I'd never wear one of those. I was afraid Nitschke might bite my arm off to get it.
We'll come back after this.
Presentation of the National Football League is being brought to you by the American Express card. Membership has its privileges. Don't leave home without it. And by Michelob Light. When the night goes down, light up the night with Michelob Light. And by Mazda, bringing performance and value together. That's the Mazda way. Redskins have not started to drive outside their own 28-yard line tonight. Right now they start from the 22. 11:20 to go third quarter. They're down 9-7. Rodgers. Not finding the kind of holes, Larry, that he did in the first half on those opening drives.
They're tightening up that middle a little bit, but we'll have to wait. I think the jury's still out on whether they can stop him or not.
Hey, back to Reggie Roby and the watch. This literally is a watch for hang time, we're now told. It costs about $25, and literally when he kicks the ball, it tells him how high the ball has gone and traveled downfield. He had lost a similar watch earlier this season when he suffered the injury against the Patriots.
That's the height of impatience. He can't wait to get to the sideline and have someone else tell him.
Yep.
2nd and 7. Schrader got it out for very short yardage to Didier, and Didier is flattened out there by Lifford Hobley, the strong safety.
Boy, yardage is really tough to come by in this one, huh?
That was a dangerous pattern out there. Two offensive men drifted awfully close together to where the one defender, actually the Dolphin linebacker, had a shot at maybe making the interception on the ball that was thrown to the wideout. In that area right there, that's pretty close to a gimme 6 points if he gets his hands on it.
Hard to figure sometimes. You have two of the premier mad bombers in pro football, in Schrader and Marino out there. We have a 9-7 score in the third quarter. Schrader dumps it to Bryant over the middle. Kelvin Bryant, great running, gets up to the 39, first down Redskins.
He didn't look like an injured running back to me right there.
No, or somebody who wouldn't take the hits.
Now, it was a short yardage play here. You would have thought that perhaps they would have run the football, but they rarely run, particularly on the right side at short yardage. They'll much rather go on a pass to a Kelvin Bryant. That's exactly what they did right there.
Well, they've been running well enough that on 3rd and short, 2nd and short, you still got to respect that run and keep everyone in.
Spotted at the 40, 1st and 10. Give him 6.
Tell you what, fellas, that's a straight ahead. Just muscle them out, blow them off the line, and that's exactly what happened.
Offerdahl on the stop. We have the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise with us tonight, based in Pompano Beach, Florida. Our captain is Drew Marshall, and the 62nd consecutive year that the Goodyear Blimp has been at the nation's top sporting events. Glad to have them with us tonight.
Again, the second and short situation the offensive coordinator for the Redskins likes.
Give Rogers 7 on the last carry, and he's still in there. Field for the first down and didn't make it that time. Offerdahl all over the place. He's been the key to that Dolphin defense.
All right, here's the showdown, the Mad Bombers tonight. Not exactly Mad Bombers. No touchdowns for Schrader, 1 for Marino, 1 interception, but pretty tame yardage too in the interim.
This is a tough physical football game. Before I said it was a good game. Let me translate that for you for an old power running back. That means it's a power gutsy game, and it's being played on the line of scrimmage.
Bryant is in as the Redskins show pass on 3rd and short. Bryant double team coming out of the backfield. They go to Sanders and have the first down at the 46-yard line. Renee Thompson made the tackle on Sanders, and that is respect. Bryant comes out of the backfield. They send 2 guys with him.
What's happening here is they're keeping them off balance. Again, I keep mentioning the offensive coordinator. He's the guy that's calling the moves, the chess game over on the far side. He's mixing it up, 2nd and short, 3rd and short. They can't protect solely against the run nor the pass, so they're keeping the defense off balance.
Dan Henning and Joe Bugel, a couple of the offensive coaches that we talked to yesterday. Good play fake by Schrader again over the middle. And a fine catch at the 31. Sanders knocked down by Brown, but he hung on after the big hit.
And lots of time, Zonk. No pressure.
Well, they've changed their strategy a little bit on defense, because before, in that same situation, seems to me they were sending the outside guys, or at least one of them. Here they're not. They're trying to back off and defend against them, hoping those 3 guys, those 3 rushers are going to get in there.
Not even close.
Well, the game's wearing on, and some people are getting tired, too.
What helped get Schrader some extra time was a great play fake on his part. Timmy Smith is in as his running back. Schrader near side. Didier. Nice move to get away. 20, 15, 11-yard line, and driven out of bounds, and a flag is down on the play. Mark Brown and Bud Brown made the tackle after a 19-yard gain. See if it's a face mask.
Personal foul, number 43.
Just a personal foul, no face mask. See if we can pick it up.
Bud Brown.
Bud Brown's the hitter on the defense, certainly, but I didn't see anything that...
And it looked like kind of a face mask and pushing your face back.
I don't know if that was intentional or not. See, what you're supposed to do if you really want to get after somebody on that field, you push that face mask up, and that leaves their Adam's apple exposed. I read that.
You read it, huh?
I read it somewhere.
And then used it.
I think you wrote it. You didn't read it.
1st and goal, Redskins from the 5. Rogers back in there.
Again, the crowd trying to drown him out.
Rogers behind Jacoby. What a hit by Offerdahl. Holy cow, he came sailing across the field.
You know what's amazing about Offerdahl? With the injury to the bicep that he had early this year, he missed half the season, including the strikes, too. 3rd on tackles for this football team. And he played only 7 games. He's all over the place.
And right there is what it's all about. He's the hitter. He's a leader by example. Came in there with the top of his helmet right on the running back's chin.
And you've got him for Christmas and maybe for another 10 years. He's going to be a good one.
The second coming of Jack Lambert, they say.
Tell you what, you can hear the crowd down at this end of the stadium. They're trying to draw off a motion penalty off of Schrader. So far, they haven't been able to.
And the Redskins have used a timeout. 5:52 to go, 3rd quarter. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, they're trying to get the crowd into it. That's been one of the criticisms of Joe Robbie Stadium, that the crowd is so distanced from the field. It's not like the Orange Bowl used to be. The crowd was a big weapon in the Dolphins' scheme of things in the old Orange Bowl. What do you think, Son?
Well, that old metal stadium down there, you know, it reverberated the sound out onto the field. And as he said, the fans were much closer. You can hear them come up.
2nd and goal from the 4. Schrader. He'll try to run it in. Touchdown, Redskins.
Gutsy call.
At 6'4", 215, he is strong and he can run. That quiets the crowd down wherever you are. First run tonight, he made it count, Larry.
Well, you'll see, Jay. You know, it's, as you said, it's a great call. But you're risking everything when you have that quarterback roll out of there like that. It makes me wonder the way the Hogs are performing right now. If you had John the Diesel Riggins in here, if you wouldn't see some real plow action and some people being punished for this running game they're establishing.
Ali Haji Sheikh will try for the point after. Redskins up 13-9. And he makes it 14. And we'll see how much the Miami missed extra point will prove to be important in this game later down the line. 5:46 to go, 3rd quarter. 49ers annual regular season ender on the West Coast, and right now the Rams still mathematically alive for the playoffs. 49ers in good shape. A lot of people now feel they're the best team in football. Redskins kicking off, leading 14-9. Hampton waits for it at the 1. Back to the 13-yard line. Driven out of bounds over there by Davis and Orr.
Now you wonder about the mental approach that Lorenzo Hampton has for the football game. He's lost his job, essentially, to Stratford. He might be perhaps not in the game. I'm reading something into it, obviously, but you wonder about that. A guy doesn't play a lot of football, comes in there and fumbles right off the bat.
Well, he's a professional. They pay him to play. Whatever he's got to do, he's got to do. So he's got to get up for it. I don't know if after just one instance, if I'm ready to render an opinion that he's out of the game.
Yeah.
I think he's got to react professionally and get out there and do his job.
Deal with a lot of criticism in this town, though. A bit of a warfare with the press, hopefully.
Davenport 30, Stratford 23 in the eye behind Marino. Alkowitz coming on the blitz, couldn't keep his feet, and that was almost picked off. And one Redskin and one Dolphin go down hard. Kurt Govea almost had the interception as Davenport was coming out of the backfield trying to catch the ball, and they got each other.
I don't know that this ball should have ever been thrown where it was thrown. You can see Marino has a lot of time, but
yep,
I'm a little bit in disagreement with where he threw it.
Yeah, he's been missing short, missing long, underneath, in front.
Well, he saw that collision about to come about. When you throw it into 3 guys and 2 of them from the other team, I'm no great passing analyst, but I got to believe that there was a better place to throw it. He wasn't being hurried. You got to give the defense their due. They're doing a good job of shutting it down.
They really have. Marino only 11 of 26 tonight. Here's a guy that normally completes more than 60% of his passes. 3-man rush by Washington. Over the middle, threw it. Trying to spin out of trouble. Lost a chance for the first down. All he really had to do was turn around and dive, and he had the first down. Instead, he tried to get a lot more of it.
He spun out of his first down, exactly, and this puts him in a situation where it's going to be 3rd and 1 short. This is going to test what it's all about right here. The Redskins, the Hogs have been establishing themselves as being able to blow the defensive line of the Miami Dolphins off the line. Well, it's turnabout right here.
Dolphins haven't been able to establish much offensive momentum. It's 3rd and a yard right here, and they go to the shotgun. Jensen and Kaufman with a great defensive play, reached around and knocked the ball away.
Right there it is, though, because the Dolphins don't have the confidence in their running game to even go after a yard on 3rd and 1.
Exactly.
They go to the shotgun and try to get it from a quick out.
Mel Kaufman coming back from an Achilles injury, a severe Achilles injury a year ago. Great intensity on the football. Redskin linebackers, a little underrated. They're old, I guess you could put it nicer than they're more mature, shall we say, than the linebackers around the league. But they're a veteran group.
Yarber's deep to receive. Also, Kaufman's a free agent. Alkowitz is a free agent. Coleman, an 11th round draft choice. Roby sails one out for Yarber at the 34. Got Got away from the first man, could not get away from the second. Brings it back a couple of yards, 3 to be exact. After a 45-yard Roby punt. 4:25 to go in the third quarter. Back after this. Blimp Enterprise over Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. That airship out of Pompano Beach, Florida. Redskins have it with 4:25 to go. And we took an informal vote among the three of us. We've decided this is an important series. Very crucial.
Defense has to stop that run. Stop being controlled.
Rodgers is the running back. So Shea, the first man to get an injury, got to the 40. The Dolphins don't have a choice. They have to win tonight. They have to beat New England next week, and they have to keep their fingers crossed that Indianapolis will lose to Tampa Bay, because there are so many other wild card teams that they're not going to finish ahead of. They need to win the division to get the playoffs. And it has been a strange division this year, and a strange league.
Shula and Marino comparing notes. They're already talking about the next possible possession.
2nd and 7. Schrader near side, Didier. Gang tackling Dolphins. They end up with 4 guys on him, and Didier comes up looking for a piece of ship. He didn't like it.
Gang tackling. That's one of the things that Oliver Dottie loved last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. In fact, he's got a photograph hanging up in his office, a shot of all the Dolphin defenders hovering over a ball carrier. They want the gang, they want that aggressiveness. It hasn't been there in weeks past. Right there, Offerdahl's the kind of guy that comes in and puts the hurt on you when the other guy's got you posted up. He's the kind of guy that can really hold you up for the next week.
3rd and 2. 3 wide receivers.
Can't get the pass right.
And Schrader throws low for Sanders. Langford was right there with him.
Big down, very big down.
And it really seems that both quarterbacks, when they get to a crucial situation in their drives, are missing by that much on a play that would keep it alive. Schwades goes deep to receive, and Buck Brown is back there with it.
The momentum of this game is sort of hanging in the balance right now. You can feel it here in the stadium. It's who's going to make the mistake or who's going to capitalize on the big play first.
Talk a little bit about Joe Robbie Stadium. Privately funded, $100 million, built on time, on budget, which is really a monument, I think, to Joe Robbie's vision. A veritable dream come true for the Dolphin organization. But for the Dolphin fans, it's still a nightmare. Ticket prices, the highest in pro football. It's up to $600, by the way, for a family of 4 on the club level. Parking continues to be atrocious. Some have to park a mile away for as much as $10. We'll talk more about it as the game develops.
Dolphins start from their 19. Stratford ducking under people. Kaufman finally got him as he got to the 21-yard line.
Did you see how low he got on that? You got to give him the Sneaky Pete Award. You know, when these huge defensive linemen are in there, he manages to get under them. And he's got to be quick to do that. It goes back to that thing I talked to you about before, or alluded to before, about how quick he is in tight and in close.
Yeah, we still can't find him. It'd be great when they do the limbo at Cardinals.
That's 2nd and 8. Marino's in the shotgun.
Pruitt is in there as one of the 3 wide receivers. Davenport in the backfield. Here comes man. Marino somehow got rid of it. Duper made the catch, and Green fell down. Green was trying to make the cut to stay with Duper. His feet went out from under him, a 14-yard gain.
I don't know if you could see it or not after the play, but Marino had a little conversation with his right offensive tackle about you got to keep him off me for another half second.
Yeah. And that tackle is Mark Dennis, who has the unenviable job of trying to slow down Charles Reed.
Hasn't been doing a bad job so far in this game for a fellow with very little, if any, NFL experience outside of a quarter last week.
This man's been doing that to everybody. Time, and it looked like Marino's arm was hit just as he released that one. intended for Clayton.
By the way, just picking up that story on the Dolphins Stadium, the Dolphins still very leery of criticism in the organization. The Miami Herald, by far the most influential newspaper in the state, banned from the team plane, denied hotel reservations because of its past criticisms of Joe Robbie's policies. Mr. Robbie pretty thin-skinned at times about criticism.
And that man has been the coach for Joe Robbie for a long, long time, 25 years in the business. Between here and Baltimore. Marino behind Davenport, and Kaufman was right there to make sure he didn't catch it, along with a strong safety, Alvin Walton, and that ball was thrown behind. 13 out of 31 for Marino. It's not been the best of nights.
He's jawing at the receivers, I think. I don't know why. It's not a picture-perfect pass. Throwing behind the receiver, Davenport.
He's starting to force it, or what looks like he's starting to force it a little bit right now. It's getting dangerous.
He's getting frustrated, too, it looks like.
Maybe that's the reason he's trying to force it.
3rd and 10, and the Dolphins have not distinguished themselves with 3rd down conversion. Redskins show blitz. Coleman may have jumped offside. Here they come. Marino with time and overthrows Pruitt.
No flag.
Literally had 10 men on the line of scrimmage. See that? The defense? Redskins had 10 men up.
And there wasn't a lot of touch on that pass. It was a line drive. If he'd have looped it, he had Pruitt wide open.
What do you think? Did he get back?
That's close.
It's obvious that the Redskins are believing in the pressure theory. They're going to send everybody as often as possible.
I think it was an offside.
Roby will have to punt on 4th and 10. Of course, that is not subject to instant replay. Came after him and almost got there. Holy cow, did Roby crush that one. And fair catch made by Yarber on the dive at the 23. A 43-yard kick, but it also went 43 yards up. 1:40 to go, 3rd quarter. It is a 14-9 Redskin game.
Back to Joe Robbie Stadium, shall we? The stands. They're a bit of part of the controversy, I think, set up in kind of an elitist fashion. They call it a 3-tiered caste system, the critics say anyway. The affluent get the choice seats. Some folks who've had season tickets for 20 years on the 50-yard line would move to the 20-yard line. I know a lot of people who aren't renewing tickets next year because of that.
Momentum waiting to happen. It still is. Schrader, another good play fake. Wants it all. Sanders underthrown, and Langford was right with it.
Great play by him.
It sure was.
Ran with him, jumped early, jumped with him.
Now, Langford and Judson have been criticized all year long as corners. They've done a fine job.
Yeah, they have. They really have. Play fake kind of sets it up here.
And that wasn't as good as the first two, but Smith did a nice job of making sure he did his part. Saw Montana earlier in the season. He's got to be the best there is, but Schrader really helps himself on that kind of ball. Bryant in on 2nd and 10. Oh, some good running. Kelvin Bryant, 1st down and more. Midfield, driven out of bounds. Great run by Kelvin Bryant, 28 yards.
Maybe the best run of the night, Tom.
I think so. You got to give the man credit where credit's due. He does a fabulous job of following the blocks. He's got a good hole. I mean, look at the hole the Hogs are opening up for him. But then he just leaves Offerdahl right in the dust. He put a new move on him.
7 carries, 69 yards for Kelvin Bryant. Rogers, 13 carries for 52 yards. Smith, 7 carries for 34.
And they're blowing the middle guard right off the line of scrimmage and out of the play.
Bryant Soche.
Tim Smith now the tailback, and he'll get it. That little counter action, pick up about 2. Jackie Ship, dragging him down at the 48-yard line.
I was going to comment earlier, you know, if you had Riggins in here running behind the Hogs, the Miami linebackers would be taking a great deal more punishment than what they're getting.
Right.
And by the fourth quarter, they would be dragging if John was hammering at them. But with a run like that from Kelvin, it's hard to contrast. I mean, you know, obviously picked up a tremendous amount of momentum for being able to execute that kind of run.
And by using 3 backs, the Redskins should be fresh in that department here in the fourth quarter. We're only 44 seconds away from it. Bryant is in there now with the second and long. Schrader is looking his way and hit it. And Bryant gets down to the 42. There is a flag down on the play. And it is back.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 55.
Hugh Green.
Yeah, Hugh Green, who comes in on passing situations, apparently got there late.
I didn't think it was Green. I thought it was Graff.
That really hurts.
Roughing the passer, number 55, first down.
Say it's Hugh Green for sure. It is Graff. Okay, we've been corrected. It is Rick Graff. Watch it here.
58.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, that is not Hugh Green. Hugh Green's 55.
Matter of fact, I do not remember seeing Graff. Whoa, really upset.
Well, he's about to make a rookie mistake with that referee.
Well, they say he is the crazy guy on the Miami.
The nasty one. Yep, they love that demeanor when it's in control.
First down, Skins at the 26. Rogers got a yard, maybe 2. Brown threw him back. Graff had him around the ankles.
Now this is where temper takes over for Rick Graff. You watch it here. Wants to take on 2 guys. Just let me in the action somewhere, guys.
Oh, he's a hitter.
That is the end of the third quarter from Miami, Florida. It's the Redskins 14-9. 84, and Mark Clayton, late in a brilliant season in only his second year as a pro. More than 1,300 yards receiving. 6 games with more than 100 yards each. At least 1 touchdown in 14 of the games that year. And overall, 18 touchdown grabs, an NFL record. But every record is in jeopardy these days, it seems, and the amazing Jerry Rice of the 49ers passed Mark Clayton this afternoon against Atlanta with his 19th touchdown catch of the year. And we will see Jerry Rice next week as the Rams meet the 49ers on ESPN on Sunday night. 2nd and 8, Redskins threatening at the Dolphins 24. Schrader for Bryant. Langford. Intercepted by the Dolphins.
What an interception!
Langford played it beautifully.
They're still fighting out for it. He's got the ball. Terrific play.
Well, you just knew when Bryant came out of the backfield that that's the way Schrader was going.
Well, you see, Kelvin Bryant has an arm inside there. His way of thinking that's still his ball. We cut away from it, but there it is for some time here. You see his hand is in under Langford. He's not turning loose of it, and he had to literally pull them apart after the play was over.
Great play by Langford, and Miami, down by only 5, has the ball back. First down out of the shotgun. Marino to Davenport at the 25, covered by Kaufman and Olkowitz.
Going right to the shotgun on first down. And remember when we talked about the fact that Dan Marino and John Sandusky and Shula were all talking about it some few minutes ago. I think you're going to see predominantly shotgun from here on out.
Larry, earlier in the ball game, they were getting some pretty decent running out of Stratford, and they seem to have abandoned the ground attack in the second half.
For no apparent reason either.
Yep.
And that 3rd and 1 situation we had is so crucial early on. Monday morning quarterback, but
no, Sunday night quarterback. Right. Rush Marino with time, and badly underthrown that time for Dan Johnson, the tight end. And Marino knows he had him wide open.
Grabs his head in despair. It's obvious to everyone. Marino's off tonight. If you watch him right after this play, you'll see. He grabs his head. He knows full well right there that it was his fault. The man was open. He had it right down the middle.
Of Calgary, the Olympic tradition continues.
Well, right there, that was his fault. The man was open. He had it right down the middle.
And loads of time, too.
There's Langford with his third interception on the sideline. Marino this half, 5 out of 13. He has not completed 2 in a row.
This may be his worst game.
And if you haven't seen much of Dan Marino, this is not the real Dan Marino.
But they're still in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manley may have been offsides and was. Clayton got away from Wilbur. And up to the 40. First down, Miami. 16-yard gain. Dexter gets off the line of scrimmage with that pass rush as fast as anyone in football. Sometimes he gets off a little early and did that time.
Marino's developing a case of nervous speed in there because those fellas are getting so close to him.
He had plenty of time to draw the play before those on, but still underthrew it.
Marino within reasonable distance of a 300-yard gain, however, in this game, 13:25 left. Pretty pass that time, caught by Duper. Look out! Touchdown, Dolphins! He wouldn't have gotten there. Revays for the point after. Makes it a 2-point ball game. Here's the way Marino saw his second touchdown pass to Mark Duper. A 2-point lead for Miami, 13-29 to TNAPA for the nearest location. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Kodak Film, there's no better way to picture your life. The crowd is back in it as the Dolphins have regained the lead in a must-win situation. Up by 2 with 13:29 left in the game. Revay to kick off. Verdun at the 2. 20. Clarence Verdun, a 38-yard return out to the Washington 40-yard line, and will give Schrader some excellent field position to start with. Don McNeil had to make the tackle.
This guy was a real good kick returner in the USFL, Zonk.
He's not doing bad here tonight either. He's got some good blocks up in front of him, and that they just cracked a hole in the center of that Dolphin charge.
Mark Duper with a big smile, and why not? 2 touchdown catches tonight. And the crowd chants defense. Redskins will keep it on the ground. What a tackle by Rick Grant.
Oh, he took on that blocker one-on-one.
Tim Smith got maybe a half yard.
Graff sees it coming at him, just simply discards the lead blocker and seizes the ball carrier and throws him on the ground. There's not many things you can say about that to describe it as just real good football.
He got away from John Moran, who was a terrific blocker. Kelvin Bryant in the game on 2nd and 10. Bryant on the delay. Big hole.
run that play as well as any. Yeah, the delayed draw really hurts an aggressive, maybe an over-aggressive defense in the front.
Well, that's what they're going to capitalize on, is the fact that they're so emotional and so keyed up. They delayed and waited for it to open with the delayed blocks. As you can see, he can wheel and deal inside.
Here's Offerdall. Delvin Bryant now has 84 yards rushing tonight for the Redskins. Graff on the blitz. Schrader got away. And he just threw it away. There wasn't a soul out there. And the Miami bench is really steamed. Jay got away with one that time. Well, of course, he did manage to get away from Graff on the blitz.
There's Tom Olivadotti, defensive coordinator, man, has been under a lot of pressure off and on this year. It looks like he's starting to pull it together.
Hey, Schrader did the work, though, on that play, eluding that rush from Graff. And that's one of the raps on Rick Graff, that he misses tackles he should make. 2nd and 10. Skins at the Dolphins 44. Bryant on the delay again. Oh, not this time. Great tackle. Offerdall, who has been everywhere.
He comes in when you need him most. Again, Offerdall being the leader by example. You can't talk enough about him. Lays in here, comes around the pile. Comes in like a dart. Wraps up, picture-perfect tackle.
Great pursuit and recognition of where the play is going to go.
From a second-year man.
Yep. Played the Pro Bowl as a rookie. 3rd and 10. Listen to the crowd. Schrader wants it all for Dan. Oh! And he dropped it. Donovan Rose waited on the ball at the goal line, but was no factor in the play. For Dan simply dropped the ball.
Looked like Rose completely misplayed it.
Yeah,
completely.
Boy, Schrader on the money.
Drop ball.
It's a lonely feeling in a packed stadium like this, isn't it? To drop the ball like that, I didn't see it afterwards, but Verdan picked up a piece of sod and threw it about 30 yards up into the seat.
Instead of a touchdown in the lead, the Redskins have to punt. Schrader. Back to the ground. Floats one high, hoping to get it inside the 10. Got the bounce. Great job by Cox. Put it out of bounds just outside the 5. And Verdan comes over to apologize to Schrader after a 38-yard punt. Here's a perfect example of what not to do on offense or defense. Verdan jumps early, short arms it a little bit. In the meantime, Donovan Rose is falling flat on his back, and both of them stare at each other like,
nowhere
what happened?
near the play. Boy, that just kills you.
He'll remember that forever.
Maybe till next week.
Nah, that'll stick with him, let me tell you.
Yeah, it will.
Particularly if it turns out to be the turning point in this game.
So the Dolphins now need to get out of a hole from their own 6. Flag is down as Todd Bowles came up with good run support from the secondary. The Redskins have gotten excellent run support all year from Walton Bowles. It's going to be a holding call from Freddie Wine. The good thing about this, it can only be 3 yards, half the distance.
Sending Davenport in.
Holding number 34. Decline. 2nd down.
Louis Bennett. Been in there much. That one hurt.
2nd and 10. Really, the ball's up at the 7. It should be 2nd and 9. And now they change the scoreboard. Reno wants to throw. And they've got out of the hole on a great throw to Duke. 30-yard gain. And Marino's now thrown for 328
good night for him.
No, it hasn't. What would he do if he's hot?
What would he do without Duper?
Well, you can see this game starting to open up like the game we had anticipated from the first quarter on.
Yes.
That wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now suddenly we're in that kind of game.
He has just passed Sonny Jurgensen for number 3 all-time in 300-yard games in his career. Jurgensen down to the right of us, a couple of booths in the Redskins radio booth. He is now tied with Johnny Unitas. And Dan Fouts, number 1 all-time. Stratford. Out of bounds at the 50. A flag is down. We'll have a penalty on top of the run as Bowles may have gotten a piece of the face mask, and we have a fight too.
That's not a fight. That's a simple disagreement.
That's a call from Wyatt.
Face mask. Number 23 defense. 15 yards.
That's 15.
It's a big one and it hurts.
Hot Bowles. Oh, yeah.
You can see it's an obvious face mask. The great part about that was Troy's ability when he cut through that hole. He hit it just right, slashing, went downfield, and then I think the thing we talked about before, Roy, was the fact when you asked about it being comparable to Joe Morris. Right there, he had quickness, but when he got in that open field, he didn't have the afterburner.
Stratford 38 yards on 10 carries tonight.
Tough.
Dolphins leading by 2, threatening again at the Redskins 35. Time to jump a little bit and dropped it.
I'm not sure if this pass was really catchable, but I know that in recent weeks he's had a lot of problems holding on to the footballs, particularly when he's wide open. He's gotten better in the last couple of weeks, but he had some real severe cases of dropsies. Short-armed it here.
He pulled his arms back in.
Yep.
And you saw him earlier on the pattern looking to see where Barry Wilburn was.
Think that was catchable, Zach?
Absolutely.
Kid is a tremendous athlete. 35-inch vertical jump. But you got to catch it or the jump doesn't make any difference. Davenport steps up, anticipating the blitz. Almost intercepted by Darrell Green. He was right with Duke.
Of course, Darrell Green, the fastest guy in the NFL next to Al Davis. Play. Oh, should have had that one. There.
Marino, 17 out of 39, 348 yards. This is a 3rd and 10. They've only converted 2 third downs tonight. The Redskins have 9 men on the line of scrimmage.
Taking the 10.
Here comes the blitz. Coleman from behind doesn't get there. Almost. Oh, yeah. And the interference on Woodbury.
I don't know. That could be interference almost either way. There was a real battle going on there.
Looked like Woodbury smothered him, though, Zach.
Now there's a discussion. Marino turned loose of that ball at exactly the right instant.
Monty Coleman was 1 step away from burying.
Obviously some controversy even between the referees.
One of the officials simply shaking his head every time somebody else says something.
They all look alike with those white hats on, don't they?
The question may be whether it was a catchable ball or not.
Here it comes.
No penalty. The ball was not catchable. Incomplete.
Right on the nose there, Michael.
That's a rule I have always wondered about. Wouldn't interference be interference no matter what?
Let's see if this ball was catchable.
Don Strock is in again. Remember, he can be the short punter. And he just tries to pooch it downfield. Let's get the signal. We have 9:38 to go in some big plays that haven't happened in this game. 16-14 Miami. Welcome back to Miami. 9:38 left. Miami leading Washington by 2. Here's that controversial play. Ruled uncatchable. But how can it be uncatchable when the receiver can touch it? It's both hands on the ball. But that play is not subject to instant replay. Schrader. Nice catch by Gary Clark out of the field.
We just showed the graphic on Schrader and the comebacks he's brought this football team to. 8 fourth-quarter comebacks in 2 years. This guy leads more comebacks than a Royal Mountie. That's 9 now. Yeah, 9 actually.
Gary Clark, who's been pretty silent tonight. Nice diving catch here as Langford was laying off of him.
Laying way off of him. It was almost like Langford thought he had help to the inside.
Schrader, 17 out of 32, 241 yards. 3 wide receivers in now as Verdan comes back in the ball. Oh, boy. Schrader, naked bootleg. 50. And the Redskins bench wants the late hit, and they got it. Oh, and I don't know about this. Timmy Smith then shoved an official a little bit. Bud Brown came in late, and boy, the Redskin bench erupted when he did. The flag came in very late, though.
Personal foul, number 43. Unsportsmanlike conduct out of the game. Number 43 shoved the official.
Oh, boy. The second time he's been involved in a late hit tonight, too.
Told Bud Brown he is out of the ball game. He's not going anywhere yet.
They don't have a lot of healthy bodies in the secondary either, Mike.
Now Bud Brown going to leave slowly. Glenn Blackwood was hurt a week ago. Brown isn't leaving the field. If you hurt Freddie Wyatt, throw him out of the ball game. Timmy Smith got lucky for the Redskins because he also came up and pushed the official. And now Brown is coming out of the ball game, and they'll have to send in Donovan Rose.
That's the guy that fell down on that last play.
Yeah, he's late.
Yeah. Schrader checking it out, saying, "What do you think, guys?" Now watch. Here's. Now we didn't really see it there.
Ron, this is Bill. I'm going down to the
see the
goal
shove, and Don Shula now exchanging comments with Fred Wyatt, the referee.
Shula was talking to the referee about the pass. It was ruled uncatchable down at the other end.
Says you can have this one. I still want to get that one changed. So the Redskins move down the field in a hurry, just inside the 15-yard line.
Well, you see how
Rose, a 3-year man out of Hampton.
See how that one play can convert the whole game.
They get in the end zone. I think they're going to go for broke. What do you think?
Let's see. Tim Smith. Huge hole. Brought down at the 9, gain of 6. Mark Brown dragged him down. And there's Brown on the sideline. Picks up a 15-yard penalty for a late hit. Thrown out of the game for unsportsmanlike conduct on top of the late hit.
He must have pushed the referee pretty hard. I didn't see it, but the first time I've ever witnessed a fellow ejected from the game for just bumping or pushing a referee.
Yeah. Second and 5 Redskins, down by 2. 7:45 to go in the game. Smith. To the 5, maybe inside the 5 where he has to go for the first down. Turner and Offerdahl, boy, they've almost scored to go home.
Well, the offensive line, again, the same play we've been seeing from the first quarter on. Right here, he just puts his head down and gets what he can.
T.J. Turner in the middle of that.
3rd and a half a yard from the 5.
The offensive linemen, despite their size and weight, they're holding out pretty well.
Rodgers, the deep man in the eye. First down to the 2. Brown and Judson on the tackle.
We're talking about Rodgers tonight, the fact that he has been somewhat ineffective this year. The fact is only 14 other players in NFL history have had 7,000-yard careers. I guess one of the criticisms is that he's a big money guy at $5,000 per carry, is what they figure it out to be.
That means you and I can go out there and run it once, spend the money for hospitalization.
Right.
1st and goal for the Redskins from the 2. Rodgers. Touchdown, Washington. He just walked through that one.
Well,
the offensive line doing its job.
Washington offensive line, there it is. Continue to do the job. Getting the movement, creating the big hole.
These guys really deserve a lot more mention than they've been getting because they've had people beaten up.
Sure.
And I think Joe Bugle agreed when we suggested he might have the most versatile offensive line in the league. These guys play so many different positions, and they try to teach that. They want guys who can play 2, 3, 4 different positions.
They got seasoned veterans in there, and they communicate well.
20-16. Ali Haji Sheikh will try to make it 21. He does. Seesaw battle. 6:17 to go in the game from Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. George Rodgers has the Redskins back on top by 5.
One more time, George Rodgers. Another $5,000 for George, and he hits pay dirt this time.
Don Bro and Joe Gibbs over on the sideline. Gibbs would not be dragged into the John Riggins George Rodgers controversy. Didn't want any part of it. He does not like to speak ill of current or former Redskins or whatever they say. And that's the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise out of Pompano Beach, Florida, helping us cover the game here tonight. Well, all the pressure shifts back to Miami. 6:17 to go in what could be their season. They cannot lose and still have a chance to make the playoffs.
6:17, of course, plenty of time as you look at George Rodgers, but you wonder maybe this is their final series. You never know the way the football's been going tonight. There's Bud Brown. Wonder what he's thinking, Tom.
Not real happy with referees. I can promise you that.
I still think the play in question is still that catchable ball controversy. That turned that whole series around.
Of course, the Redskins also had that drop touchdown pass, which would have given them another 7 points. You can always point to a few plays during the game. Hampton, 6 yards deep. He's had a couple of pretty good kickoffs tonight, including a long field goal.
It's important to kick that ball downtown. You know, Garrow, that was one of Garrow's problems. He kept kicking it short, and that was one of the reasons he was cut from the Dolphins.
And Bud Brown leaving the sideline to go to the Miami locker room. Said Haji Sheikh had a long field goal. That was Quad Reves for Miami that had a long field goal. 6:11. You're hard to think of having anybody else back there that you'd want to conduct the last 6 minutes. Marino with a great recognition in the arm and the release.
Got to watch the interception.
Dropped by Duper. Play. Darrell Green dropped off about 10 yards, so Duper was wide open.
Duper sets it up and makes the cut. Ball's there. What can you say about it? I guess anybody could catch that ball.
Not me.
2nd and 10. Miami loses this ball game. They are out of the playoffs. Monty Coleman on the outside showing bliss. Doesn't come, however. Marino to Duper. Darrell Green. Fine job. Got inside, reached out the right hand, and batted the ball away.
Green, good coverage on this play. Two-time Pro Bowl player out of the Frank Minifield School, Mini being the operative prefix, I think. Little guy, but he gets to the ball. They say that Darrell Green tires easily, which has become a point of attack for enemy quarterbacks. It'll be interesting to see if Marino works on him again.
3rd and 10. Dolphins trying to keep the drive alive. Coleman comes on the blitz. Marino drops it over the middle of Pruitt. He caught this one, and Pruitt dived out to the 37. Great touch by Marino. A gutsy throw, too. And a nice catch for a guy that has had catching problems. The dropsies, as evidenced before. Pruitt over the middle in traffic. Finding a little more running room, too. Good job with it after he catches it, son.
Marino flipped that ball with nothing but his wrist.
Coming up after our ball game, the Sports Center, Bob Lee and John Saunders will be with you. Plenty of action left here. Dove forward, but got something out of it.
Yeah, he recovered well, but if you look at it, he starts up, when he plants and goes upfield, he should have stayed with the hole. To see it open up right here, right there, it just accelerated and gone on through. He was intimidated by what was happening right at the point. But underneath, he had a little ground. I think he's realizing
what a
right
shot
there.
That was a beautiful shot.
Total realization of what.
Great camera shot, fellas. Beautiful. Great reaction.
2nd and 8 for Miami. Dolphins have done a great job on Dexter Manley. Kept it away from Marino. There's Clayton to the Redskin 44-yard line. Darrell Green on the tackle, along with Cole, Woodbury. 18-yard gain. This could be the final assault with about 4:15 left. Here's Clayton. Woodbury on the coverage.
When he catches that ball, there's 4 defenders in the area. That ball had to be played perfectly.
3:57 to go. Field goal will not do the Dolphins any good. They're down by 5. Marino over the middle again. That's Bruce Hardy. And Hardy to the 31st down. On top of him, Todd Bowles with a 14-yard gain. Marino's beginning to come on now.
Yeah, but Bruce Hardy would make a great shortstop, wouldn't he? How many balls during the course of this season have you seen him go down and catch and take right out of the dirt like that? Watch him right here. And he always rolls. He makes a fatal mistake right here. He raises up, gives his back to the defender. Thank goodness that free safety is a nice guy.
We've been saying all night what an off night it's been for Marino. 376 yards, 20 out of 45.
Boy, that shows you.
You know, he's just like Namath. Quick release, great arm. He can have mannerisms like that.
Stratford on the run. Stratford gets 9 to the Redskins' 21-yard line. Keep in mind, this drive is taking up an awful lot of time. It has to pay off for him.
It has to take a lot out of that Redskins defense, too. It's the 4th quarter, and this temperature isn't that hot. But 75 degrees coming from Washington is rather warm, and it's been a physical game, so it's got to take something out of it.
And humidity at 76% of game zone. Redskins, of course, want to win this ball game for the home field advantage, but Miami has its life on the line.
Second real short.
Too much time. Delay a game. Instead of 2nd and inches, they'll have 2nd and 5.
Wow, that hurts. And while we have the opportunity, I want to say something about Troy Stratford's dad, Edwin Stratford. He just underwent triple bypass heart surgery a few weeks ago, right around Thanksgiving. And Edwin Stratford and Troy are particularly close, father and son. Tony Nathan, the guy Stratford beat out for the job, helped Troy through the very difficult period when his father was undergoing open heart surgery. Took him through it, helped him get through it. It's a nice human story.
Blitz. Rich Malott on the blitz, and Davenport covered by Kaufman. Crowd wanted interference. They won't get it, and Mel Kaufman was right with Davenport. The ball got there a little bit late.
Any interference here, Zon?
Whoa! Kaufman got there a little early, but got away with it. 1:57 to go. ESPN, the Travelers Corporation will present the Travelers NFL Man of the Year Award to the player whose on-field performance is complemented by significant community involvement. This year's nominees from the Redskins, Jay Schrader, the quarterback, and from the Miami Dolphins, the injured safety, Glenn Blackwood.
Here's the look once again on that play. No flag. Questionable calls or non-calls tonight.
Piggybacks allowed.
3rd and 6, 4 wide receivers. Stratford is one of them to the near side. Jensen on the draw. First down.
Gotta like the way
him up that time.
Gotta like the way my man carries the football.
How about that call? Good call.
Brian Davis made the tackle. Really crossed him up on that one. 1:34 to go. Time, and Clayton dropped it at the 5. Marino got that one there. Had plenty on that.
Good coverage here. Big hit as well. That should have had it.
Should have had it. I think Marino gunned it, seeing the safety closing in there.
He's had a few drops. 20 out of 47, 376 yards for Marino. 11th play of this drive, and Miami has to get the touchdown.
And it wasn't really on the money early in the game.
That's right. A little scary, isn't it? 3-man rush, plenty of time to get rifles incomplete. Almost picked off. 2 Redskins collide with each other. Todd Bowles.
An interception there. The season's over for Miami.
And it looked like he hit Alvin Walton, the other safety.
That had to be one of the most vicious collisions we've seen here tonight.
Yeah. Boy, it's tough when you put your own man out of the game.
Watch the collision here. Really don't get to see the impact.
It's Barry Wilburn.
Well, to be honest with you, I thought it was more of a head-on type thing, but it looked like they sort of spun off each other a little bit there, one going under the other. It wasn't quite as vicious as I thought it was.
Alvin Walton, maybe the best strong safety in the game right now. At 15 tackles against the Giants. 15. Big time.
Wilburn is still down. He intercepted a pass in the first half to give him 8. That leads the NFL. This telecast, by the way, is presented by authority of the National Football League and intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of the telecast without the express written consent of the National Football League is prohibited. We have 1:19 to go in the game as they continue to attend to Barry Wilburn near the Redskin goal line. And Miami is facing a 3rd and 10. They've hit 2 third-down conversions on this drive after hitting only 2 of 11 earlier in the ballgame.
Miami with 3 timeouts left. So they can make that buck 19 last a long time, that minute 19.
And the Redskins only have 1 left.
There, I think he's about to get up.
Now they're going to get Barry Wilburn up now, and this is the point where you ask him what city he's in, and he says Thursday.
Let me tell you what, it's very difficult from up here, for that matter, even right down on the sideline, to really tell about a collision like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot you don't see. You have to almost be there.
So with Wilburn's injury, does that impact, you think, the coverage? A new guy coming in, even though it's a short pass, 17-yard pass?
Absolutely. You're in Dan Marino's territory right here.
Think he'll try to exploit it?
Oh, absolutely.
And Wilburn up, Good news to see him walking off the field under his own power. Vernon Dean has checked into the ball game, number 32, very versatile defensive back. Used to be a starter for the Redskins. Remember, SportsCenter follows our telecast. Bob Lee and John Saunders. This is the longest Dolphin drive of the game. They've eaten up 5 minutes off of the clock, and they need to score on this one. They are down by 5.
This is the biggest 3rd and 10 this season.
Yep.
Oh, Roy, pretend you're the defensive coordinator. Do you roll your men to help the new corner? Expect Marino to go to the other side? How do you play?
I drop my linebackers back in the secondary right now.
Vernon Dean is out here on Duper to the near side this time. Marino to Jensen. Jensen dives for the first down. It looks like he has it at the 6.
When you need a wide receiver, he's a wide receiver. When you need a tight end, very conscious of where the first down's at, he does that. I like that man.
He can also play quarterback.
Wow. Think he's a popular guy here in Miami?
Miami has taken a timeout, stopped the clock with 1:12 to go. Nice job to get that first down.
2 big possession plays for Jensen, too, in this series.
Roy, they took your advice. They dropped the linebackers off to protect against those wideouts, and guess who came up with it short?
Yep.
They were afraid of a touchdown. The Dolphins were thinking first down.
They got it, and it's 1st and goal from the 6-yard line.
What do you play action here, Zot? Roll out, something like that?
That little rollout with Marino's been pretty effective tonight.
Marino has passed for 387 yards in this game. Made some bad passes on the night. Only 21 out of 49. His percentage way down.
There's a man, his mind is going like a computer right now. I promise you.
1st and goal from the 6. Of mind that Duper had.
Again, Marino actually throwing before there was any opening. When he threw that, well, there it is. Great reaction time. Almost a gift. But if you check Marino out, he throws this ball when the receiver's back is still to him.
Woodbury actually tipped the ball, it looks like.
He was right there. Win.
1:07 left.
And remember Schrader's comeback roll.
Yep.
He's won 9 out of 15 that he trailed going into the 4th quarter.
They only have 1 timeout left, Mike.
That's right. And only difference. 1:07.
What is it I just said about Marino having one of his worst games? I think Shula will take this anytime.
I think everyone, you look at Marino when he's hot. Yep. And when he's totally unstoppable. And then you see him, I think you used the phrase earlier, when he's mortal.
Yep.
And you think he's having a bad game, but compared to the other quarterbacks in the league, he's having a terrific game. Right? Johnson slowed him up for Dan, trying to go back the other way. McNeil chased him out of bounds. He was one player away from going 99 yards.
I think it took about 4 minutes off the clock, too, that play.
He certainly ran a lot of time off that clock.
Remember, Miami has to win this game and next week and hope the Colts lose to Tampa Bay. First things first, they're up by 2. Ball at the 22. One timeout left for the Redskins. Think this sounds as loud as yours, Paul?
Right now it does.
Intercepted. Mike Smith had it in his hands and couldn't hold it. Oh, boy. Flag is down. Jacoby moved on the play, and he moved because of the noise.
Yep. Now they couldn't break Schrader. They did get one of the offensive linemen, so that's just as effective.
Number 66.
Schrader showing a lot of poise under the situation.
Sure is.
Watch the right side of your screen. Left side, I'm sorry, with Jacoby right there. There it is.
Jacoby, 4-time Pro Bowler, another Bobby Beathard's free agents out of Louisville. And at the end of the year, they're as good as anybody. Most years during the rest of the year, they're as good as anybody. But so are the Redskins, and this one isn't over. 45 seconds to go. Now the referees will confer. And
They're looking down at the clock there.
One of the officials has come to the sideline. And now Freddie Wyant will go over and talk to the Redskins sideline, and they may have to reset the stadium clock.
There's the guy in the black gown. Of the gang, he's the leader of the bad guys.
That's right. Here's Fred Wyant with the explanation.
There was no play, a false start.
Clock ran on the last play, but there should have been no time taken off because it was a false start.
Schrader's telling them that it was 15 seconds.
Right? That's right. They put 5 back on it to 50. 5 seconds may be very significant before we're done here. Thrown intended for Sanders. He had single coverage by Lippert Mobley back there. Sanders had a couple of tries. Boy, Schrader's got a gun. He can get it.
He can throw that ball a long way.
How many yards in the air was that throw?
That ball was thrown 70. Why single coverage here, though, Tom?
I don't know. I would be scared to death of going to single coverage here.
It's like a punt.
It's almost like they were afraid of something dropped over the middle late. Going all the way or something.
70 yards in the air. Wow. sideline, incomplete. Didier was out of bounds.
Not a lot of debate from Gibbs. Let's see. There's the knee.
Hey, what looks like single coverage. If you notice, though, your two safeties are completely, they're so far downfield that they should be able to roll from side to side.
The Redskins have two things to worry about now. It's 4th and 15. They have to get that yardage to keep the drive alive. There's only 32 seconds left, and they only have one timeout. But all they need is a field goal. This is the ball game, and Bryant caught it at the 38-yard line.
Now they'll take the timeout.
19 seconds.
21 yards. They do take the time. Now this brings up some interesting possibilities. This is Ali Haji Sheikh. He can kick it a long way, but the guy who can kick it a mile is Steve Cox. Cox is one of the few guys around that would have a chance ever to break Tom Dempsey's record for the longest field. What a play. What a pass and a catch.
Clutch play. Take the timeout.
Now the Redskins have none left and only 19 seconds to go. To give Cox a chance, he would have a shot at 55, 60 yards. He is that strong as a straightaway kicker. But they would still have to get down to the Miami 40-yard line. 35.
Still a long way away with 19 seconds left.
You see, he has kicked 4, made 4 over 50 this year. And he does have a cannon for a leg. Our statistician, Mark Frederickson, points out he's not even warming up. Doesn't need it. But they have to get there first. Schrader over the middle, complete to Clark at midfield. Clock running. And he stopped it with 2 seconds left. That is one of the new rules this year. You can pick it up, throw it straight down at the ground. And it's not intentional grounding because you're doing it specifically to stop the clock.
So it's Hail Mary time again.
Asking about single coverage before. I don't think that was single coverage. What happens is the corners have those guys deep and outside.
Will come on to try a 67-yard field goal.
Are you watching Tom Dempsey?
He has a 10-mile-an-hour wind behind him. And it's short. Cox goes for the miracle, comes up short, and the Miami Dolphins have stayed alive against the Redskins, winning it 23-21. Some finish, huh?
Watch Don's reaction.
There it is. The Dolphins go to 8-6, and it will all come down to trying to beat New England next week and hoping Indianapolis loses. If that happens, they win the AFC East and will go to the playoffs. The Redskins already in it, but their chances for the home field advantage hurt tonight as they lose it. I'd like to thank Larry Zonka, our guest analyst tonight. Fun to be with you again. Our final score again for Miami, the Dolphins 23, the Redskins 21. On behalf of Larry Zonka and Roy Firestone, this is Mike Patrick. Good night from Miami. Stay tuned for the Sports Center.